That is the Lions' first offensive play from scrimmage. They took the kickoff back inside Saskatchewan territory to call the game. Mark Lee and Chris Walby. Mark?
Thank you, Elliot. It's the Scotiabank West Championship from BC Place Stadium. The Saskatchewan Roughriders and BC Lions in this game in this building for the second time in 3 years, and a crowd of nearly 50,000 here at BC Place to witness this West Championship here this afternoon. Dave Dickinson has never won a playoff game in a BC Lions uniform, and he gets the start here today. Throwing in the flats to Joe Smith, and Smith is hit, breaks a tackle, and moves forward across the 30-yard line. Mentioned Dave Dickinson. Chris hasn't started and finished a game in 3.5 months because of injuries as we check their starting offense.
But Dave Dickinson is healthy and one of the best at reading the defense at pre-snap. Seen him make some great execution already. Simon, the guy that's a going-to guy, and of course Jason Claremont. Look for him to have a big game at the other slot back position, and a good offensive line anchored by the 2 American tackles, Murphy and Jimenez.
3 receivers to the short side on 2nd and 6. Dickinson with time throwing downfield, and it's complete to Geroy Simon, the CFL's leading receiver, and he puts an exclamation mark on that first down catch.
Well, if you're going to get pressure on Dave Dickinson, you have got to get him, because then it becomes a gamble. Did he get the ball off before he can get the pressure on him? Nice job of getting the ball to Geroy Simon, who finds a little hole, sets right in front of safety Tristan Clovis.
Geroy Simon, the prohibitive favorite to win the CFL's Most Outstanding Player Award this year. And the BC Lions are threatening on their first offensive series. First down at the 18-yard line of the Saskatchewan Roughriders. In the shotgun. Play action again. Dickinson throwing to Simon. He's got the catch in front of Eddie Davis. Watch that matchup this afternoon. And the Lions continue to chip away at this Saskatchewan defense.
Chip away, but Dave Dickinson is doing something he hasn't done all year. He's healthy. We talked about that. A lot of bootleg half rolls to the wide side of the football field, away from pressure, buying himself some extra time to deliver the ball.
Simon and Davis, an interesting matchup here today. Davis, the big star last week in that game against Calgary, the West semifinal. Dickinson 4 for 4 in this series, throwing for the end zone, incomplete, in traffic, intended for Geroy Simon, and the rookie Tristan Clovis breaks it up for the Riders.
They had success with this exact play earlier in this drive. Just going to drag Geroy across the middle underneath the safety. It's delivered there, but a nice job of reacting to the receiver by Clovis just as the ball is delivered.
The first incomplete pass thrown by Dickinson, and the big safety makes a big play to hold BC to this field goal attempt from the 21. Paul McCallum from the left hash marks, and it's a line drive that splits the uprights. The Lions are on the board first before a noisy home crowd. Welcome back to the Scotiabank West Championship, the CFL on CBC from BC Place Stadium here in Vancouver. A 3-0 Lions lead on the 21-yard Paul McCallum field goal, and a big crowd indeed, estimated at 50,000. Chris, they sold something like 7,000 to 8,000 tickets right after Saskatchewan won the West semifinal last weekend in Calgary. And you know that Saskatchewan and its legion of fans are hoping to atone for that gut-wrenching overtime loss in this building 2 years ago to BC in the West Championship. Dominic Dorsey now from his 16-yard line to return this kickoff. Dorsey upfield and wrestled to the turf. A 59-yard kickoff and a 22-yard return. Kerry Joseph made his CFL playoff debut 1 week ago, winning the West semifinal 30-21 over the Calgary Stampeders. He looked a little nervous in the first half, Chris, then settled down, got going with the hurry-up offense. Might we see more of that here today?
Well, I think that's exactly what you do. Try and take the crowd noise out of it.
Joseph will open with a bunch formation. First down at their own 38. Play action, and Kerry Joseph will run on first down. And that injured knee has curtailed his rushing this year, but he looks sprightly to start this one.
Well, you know he'll run. It's do or die situation. But let's take a look at these Rona game notes. The line to the Grey Cup, that's the offensive line. You've got to protect Kerry Joseph, and you've got to open up holes for running back Kenton Keith to succeed. On defense, maximum punishment. You must punish. Get in Dave Dickinson's face, hit him, and don't let the BC receivers run untouched off the line of scrimmage. Jam them.
Gain of 7 by Joseph. 2nd and 3. He'll pass. He has time to the sidelines, too far. Intended for Yo Murphy and incomplete. And so it's 2 and out to start the game for the Saskatchewan offense. And already Corey Banks getting in the face of some of his old Renegade teammates.
Well, you know what happens right now. Everybody is just so fired up. The adrenaline is at its highest point right now. And they're rushing. Everything is 100 miles an hour, and the speed of the game has to slow down. And that's what happens a couple times. The offenses will come out. It'll take a while to get started. But having said that, Dave Dickinson looked pretty good on his opening drive.
Well, Kerry Joseph sailing the ball, though, looked a lot like he did in the early going last week as he tries to calm his nerves in this big playoff game. Mike Mahoney replacing Jocelyn Fournette as the long snapper. To Luca Conti, who has a 38-yard average, the lowest punting average in the CFL. And it's a short punt bouncing to Ian Smart at his 25. And there's a flag on the play after the 5-yard return by Smart. And the call will be no yards. Let's update your Rona game notes as far as the BC Lions are concerned.
Well, Dr. Dave on offense is ready to operate. He's healthy. He's great at reading the defense, and he wants to do some beautiful work on the Saskatchewan defense. For defense, Baron Wasteland's very hard to complete and get big plays on the BC secondary. Led the league in interceptions with 36. Baron Miles himself, a league-leading 10 interceptions.
Dave telling us yesterday, Chris, that it's the healthiest he's felt since game 1 of this season. This season has been slowed by a high ankle sprain he suffered in week 8 against Edmonton, and that concussion in week 12
Saskatchewan,
against
5-yard penalty. Penalties decline.
His record is 8-4 in the 12 games he started this year.
Of interest, though, he's thrown 7 interceptions all of 2006. As you saw from that display there, 4 of them against Saskatchewan.
Well, you know that this Saskatchewan defense is going to try to have good coverage and make Dickinson hold the ball long enough so players like Reggie Hunt can get a piece of him. 5 receiver set. Saskatchewan showing blitz, and they bring it. The ball is away and complete to Ryan Thelwell, and he's wrestled out of bounds by Omar Morgan. Dickinson now good on 5 of 6 attempts to start this game. How about the Saskatchewan starting defense?
Well, it all starts up front with the front 4. I call them the Fantastic 4. Fred Perry, first-time All-Canadian All-Star at that defensive end spot. A linebacking crew, boy, they love the addition of Maurice Lloyd. What a game he played last week against Calgary. And a secondary anchored by the big veteran Eddie Davis at halfback with his 3rd consecutive All-Canadian All-Star selection.
2nd and 6 BC in a bunch formation. Dickinson rolling to the wide side, throwing. It's complete to Kendrick Jones, and he scampers up the sidelines for a big first down, beating the rookie James Johnson on the wide side corner.
James Johnson took a gamble. He tried to play the ball. As he went to play the ball, Mark, he realized that he had not been in the proper position. The ball goes over his head. Nice job of concentrating on the football by Kendrick Jones. It comes up with a big catch, and once again, almost in center field for this BC offense.
Jones, the rookie out of Illinois, working his way into the lineup after that terrible injury to Tony Simmons in week 2 of this season where he blew out his knee. A 21-yard gain by Jones. Handoff up the gut to Joe Smith, faking the reverse to Geroy Simon, and big first down production again, and a gain of 7, maybe 8 yards by Joe Smith.
Well, this BC offense looks very, very sharp early on in the first quarter. They are doing a great job of mixing up the plays. This is just called a slide offensive run play where the line will slide to the left. Joe Smith will line up deep enough, and he gets to pick his hole.
Joe Smith's numbers after taking over from Antonio Warren in week 6 of this season when the veteran Warren was cut by Wally Buono. Dickinson in the pocket, throwing curl. It's complete to Paris Jackson, and he'll have another BC first down.
We talked about Dave Dickinson, and I've said it in the opening of the game. The fact is, I don't think there's a better quarterback in the CFL that does a better job of reading the defense on pre-snap. And so he makes the decision quickly. He reads exactly what Saskatchewan's trying to do, and he gets rid of the ball that quick, and he's making the Saskatchewan defense pay for it right now.
Dickinson has used 6 different receivers so far early in this football game, spreading the football around. On first down, short drop, pumps, wants to go deep. Simon's open! Oh, it's just past his outreached arm. And once again, they go after James Johnson.
Well, they bring the blitz and they get to Dave, but Dickinson still has time to deliver this ball, and he's got a wide open G-Roy Simon one-on-one coverage, a little bit of a pump fake, working against James Johnson. He gets him, he fools Johnson. Johnson bites on the fake, just overthrown by a touch.
James Johnson has been the target of Dave Dickinson today. Remember, he had 2 interceptions 1 week ago in the West semifinal against the Calgary Stampeders. But he's the weak caribou that Dickinson's taking aim at here on offense. 2nd and 10. Saskatchewan dropping off. Dickinson out of the pocket. He'll run and takes a big hit from Kitwana Jones and Reggie Hunt. A 3-yard gain, and BC will be well shy of the first down.
And Mark, you see what happens as soon as Dave popped right up after that hit. He took a good smack on the play. He doesn't force situations. He will not put a ball where it shouldn't be. Pulls it down, tries to pick up something positive, tries to lower it, but look at, he gets a nice shot on the head there by Kitwana Jones, pops right up. The rest of his teammates right away come over. Dave, you okay? You okay? Definitely want to keep him healthy today.
No question, hearts in the throats of those BC Lions and their fans when Dave Dickinson ran for the first time. Paul McCallum with a 41.2-yard average, a nice hang time, angling it to the far sideline. Oh, a beauty. Out of bounds at the 4-yard line. Tough field position for Saskatchewan when we come back. You hear the full power of the noise coming out of these 50,000 fans at BC Place as they try to make it difficult on this man, Kerry Joseph. First down inside his own 5, handing off for the first time today to Kenton Keith, and he's going nowhere. Chris Wilson and Tyrone Williams stuff up that line of scrimmage for the BC Lions. There's Danny Barrett getting his team to the West Final in 3 of the last 5 years. But these Saskatchewan Roughriders still looking for just their 3rd Grey Cup, having won it just twice in their long history. Wally Buono, a decorated record as a head coach. This is the 11th time in 17 seasons his team has finished first between Calgary and BC. But can the Lions finish and show all that promise? Flags are down before Joseph can get the play off in this deafening din at BC Place.
Well, Brent Johnson jumped over the line of scrimmage, and that's when the whistle went. Now he came back and pointed at the left tackle, Charles Thomas, saying he moved. It's very, very difficult to be on the offensive line with this noise level, because now as a tackle, when you're playing on the outside, you have to actually cheat in. One eye on the football, one eye on the guy you got to block. Makes it very difficult.
You can't hear the snap count. You've got to watch for the football, right? Glenn Johnson with the call.
Time count violation.
Wow.
Saskatchewan number 4. After this is to the goal line. Repeat, 2nd down.
So the crowd noise already becoming a problem for Joseph as he uses his silent count.
Well, he tries to wave the receivers. See, that's great for the receivers because they'll go off the movement of his arms as he pulls them forward to the front.
But he didn't get the snap. He called for it. Now it's 2nd and 12, backed up to their own 3. In his end zone, Joseph, pressure, rolling, throwing downfield, coming back to the ball is Jason Armstead. In a big catch and a first down against LeVar Glover, the rookie corner.
Mark, we talked about the offensive line and the importance of them to keep the BC Lions off Kerry Joseph. They're going to bring pressure. Charles Thomas buries Brent Johnson on the outside. And of course, the athletic ability of Kerry Joseph buys him that extra time to run away from the pressure, to find Armstead coming across the field all the way to the short side of the sideline. Nice job, and it gets them away from the shadows of their own goalpost.
Two former Renegades hooked up for a 34-yard pass and run and a big first down to dig themselves out of trouble. Joseph again with time. He wants to go deep. There's some contact and a flag. Armstead was the intended receiver, and again they were going after Glover. Looks like interference.
Well, they went after Glover, the rookie from Cincinnati, who handed out t-shirts this week calling Lockdown U, which means he's locking down any receiver he plays against, but he bit on the pump fake.
Pass interference, BC number 27. First down.
Just a four-man rush. Now, as he does the pump fake, Glover bites on that, and when Armstead tries to separate from him, Glover gets his hands on him, and that's where the interference call comes from.
Remember, Armstead's had a couple of touchdowns against this BC defense this year, and with that penalty, it's a 29-yard increase in field position for Saskatchewan on first down. Play action now. Pitch in behind Keith. It's fumbled. No, they're going to rule it an incomplete pass on the shovel. And we saw this early last week when Joseph had trouble with the pitch.
Well, last week we saw the option, which is a pitch behind the line of scrimmage, which makes a live ball. This is a shovel pass. Just going to fake play action, try and get the end, and they get Wilson up the field, but he just pitches the ball behind Keith. The good thing about that is if he doesn't catch it, it is just ruled an incomplete pass.
Kenton Keith bobbled two pitch outs in the first half last week and dropped a sure touchdown at the goal line before hitting high gear in the second half. Dominguez is alone on the short side. Joseph, three-step drop, under pressure now. He throws it away.
Nice thing about that, Mark, is the fact that Kerry Joseph moved him and gave him some field positions. We take a look at the lineups. Kerry Joseph, Kent Keith, what a game. Hathaway in for Chris Zark, who is injured. Dominguez, Andy Fantu's in the middle, and Jason Armstead with a big catch already in this first quarter. And an offensive line that's second to none. Jeremy O'Day, the center, with his first CFL All-Star selection.
Luka Kanji will punt, standing just across his 50-yard line. Well out of his field goal range, as Ian Smart is the lone man back to return for BC. Smart, of course, replacing Aaron Lockett in the kick return position, and has played 6 games with BC. Lockett, of course, another one of those veterans that was cut this season by Wally Buono, who said at the beginning of the year, "I will not have patience this year if you don't perform." Warren was cut, Lockett was cut, Sam Young was cut.
He is a no-nonsense type of coach. What he does, he's not dishonest. He'll tell the players exactly what your role will be on this football club. If you can accept your role, you'll be here. If you perform. If you don't accept your role or you don't perform, you're gone. And he's done that a number of times. And you know what? That's the rule. If you're staying status quo, you're not getting better.
Let's look at the pressure that BC got on that last attempt by Joseph.
Well, Carl Kidd, 26, coming in. They're trying to run 2 guys in. The middle linebackers are trying to cross, get some pressure on him. Nice thing by Kerry Joseph is he knows now that if he can't, don't force it, get rid of the ball. Does a nice job of throwing it where no one can come up with it.
Now Markeith Knowlton getting around the block by Andy Fantus, the dime back coming in to get pressure and a shot on the Saskatchewan quarterback. Kanji now to punt, trying to pin BC deep. He has a slow delivery and has a penchant for being blocked, and the Lions don't get close this time. A bounce off the shin of Smart and out of bounds before the Riders could get close to that loose ball. Kerry Joseph getting some tips from Tommy Condell in the booth here at BC Place. 3-0 BC with 4:17 to go in this opening quarter, and now the Lions will try to dig themselves out of tough field position. Dave Dickinson, who led all quarterbacks in passing efficiency this year, with a rating of 111.2. In the short shotgun. Here comes the Saskatchewan blitz. They'll run, and up the gut Joe Smith goes. There's a loose ball. Saskatchewan says they have it as Omar Morgan comes up with it. And we'll look for the indication as Smith lost the ball in that defense.
And Mark, we saw this last week against Calgary where they went into a bit of a scrum and Henry Burris ended up losing the ball when Scott Schultz ripped it out of his hands. That led to a turnover.
And this is a turnover.
It'll be interesting to see if the BC Lions want to see if this ball came out. Let's take a look. If it comes out before he's down. There he is. Still got, no, that's a good job of punching it out. That's Scott Schultz, the guy we just mentioned, made the big play in Calgary. Looks like he punched it out before Smith came down. Once again, the Moose Jaw native making his presence felt.
Well, these Riders feasted on 7 Calgary turnovers 1 week ago, and now they have a chance to capitalize. First down at the BC 18 after the Smith fumble. Joseph, free step drop in the shotgun with authority, and it's incomplete. Intended for Matt Dominguez, who was complaining he was held on the play. Dante Marsh was the cornerback in coverage, Chris.
Well, trying to work, and he didn't like the treatment that he received. Good job of just hitting, but as you say, just a little bit of a grab. Stayed on there maybe a little longer than normal, but initially good contact. You're allowed to protect your space. That's good there. Maybe a little question on as Dominguez try to get some separation from him.
Well, turnovers hurt BC head-to-head with Saskatchewan this year. They turned the ball over 10 times in 3 losses to Saskatchewan. Joseph gets the ball off just as the clock ticks to 0. He thought the whistle went and stopped in the shotgun, and the whistle did go as flags flew, and it looked like the play clock had gone to 0, and once again Joseph with difficulty in this noisy stadium getting the ball off.
Well, and here's the thing, here's the situation that happens, Mark.
Time count violation. Saskatchewan number 4. 5-yard penalty. Repeat, second down.
One of the things that happens when you have a noise factor is it really affects your ability to audible. So he comes to the line, he sees a defense, he wants to change the play. It's so hard for him to get that. He's yelling right there. He's trying to change it. He just runs out of time.
They practiced all week indoors in Regina simulating this crowd noise, but now it's the real deal, and it's proving to be a distraction. 2nd and 15. He can't get the ball off again. Flags fly.
Mark, this is Jeremy O'Day, and you're absolutely right. He is asking for the ball, and you see he's talking to him. But it is hard to see now. As a center, you're not only responsible for snapping that football, but you also got to watch who you got to block.
Time count violation. Saskatchewan number 4. 5-yard penalty. Repeat, second down.
Maybe he's got to get up underneath O'Day.
Well, that's the solution, and that's exactly what you have to do. If they continue to have a problem with the shotgun snap or the deep snap, he's going to have to go underneath the center.
Sometimes quarterbacks lift the foot so the center can see it. 2nd and 20. Joseph backpedaling, pressure. He escapes momentarily, and then he's sacked. Carl Kidd.
Mark, that's a big play by this BC defense after the Saskatchewan team got a lift from the turnover. They take 2 time count violations because they can't get the ball back on time. They're all out of sequence. They got no rhythm on this play. He's trying to find somebody, can't find it, decides he's got to pull it, try to pick up something, but Carl Kidd and company bring him down. They're going to force a field goal effort. Looks to be about 40 yards out.
40 yards indeed. Longest for Kanji this year, 53. Kanji strikes the ball, and it's good. From 40 yards out, the rookie ties it at 3.
Let's take a look at the new Tim Hortons breakfast sandwich. The new Tim Hortons breakfast sandwich. The new Tim Hortons breakfast, wait for it, sandwich. The new Tim Hortons breakfast sandwich looks delicious, doesn't it? With eggs, bacon, or sausage, processed cheese, all on a toasted home-style biscuit. It's just $2.49.
Always fresh at Tim Hortons.
It's a tie ball game early. One field goal each for Saskatchewan and BC. And Kerry Joseph now talking with his center, Jeremy O'Day, and Danny Barrett having words with the referee. The crowd noise. I know Barrett said yesterday that they artificially enhanced the crowd noise here. There's a PA announcer on the sidelines who's shouting, trying to whip up the crowd, and Barrett says that's against the rules.
Well, they also have what's called a fan meter. They put it on the Jumbotron, and they try and get the bars of the noise level to go all the way across into the bright red, which means you're at the maximum peak of noise.
Now, when offenses go into the hurry-up, you can't stir the crowd. That is a penalty. Maybe we'll see Saskatchewan try that.
That's exactly why you want to go hurry up. For that reason, for the other reason is that it really hurts the defense as far as sending their calls in as well.
You're right. Communication is impaired on both sides of the line of scrimmage. Ian Smart set to return the kickoff from Kanji. And it's a pooch kick short. And fumble. And the Lions hold on. Matt Kirk looked like he got his hands on it. And Alexis Bowenge in on that bobbled kick return. A reminder, Monday, the new season of Doctor Who continues. David Tennant stars as the Doctor, traveling through space and time and coming face to face with a variety of menacing foes. Don't miss Doctor Who, Monday at 8 on CBC. That was scary.
That was scary. That was a great job by special teams of Saskatchewan to kick a high pooch. Remember the opening kickoff, Smart took it back 32 yards and gave BC's offense great field position. You kick it high, you kick a pooch, you might get a turnover.
Yeah, Smart had that 32-yarder. That's what put the fear into that Saskatchewan special teams. And Joe Smith hits that hole with gusto. Hard to bring down. And Maurice Lloyd, the rookie middle linebacker, stuck his nose in there. And the gain will be 7 on first down.
Well, that's going to be a matchup that's going to be great to watch all afternoon. Maurice Lloyd, who really made his presence felt last week against Calgary, some great sticks. But going against another horse, Joe Smith, 230 yards. And he just lowers his shoulders and very hard to bring down.
Joe Smith replacing Antonio Warren in week 6 after Warren missed that block that allowed Jackie Mitchell to ravage Dave Dickinson. Dickinson passing, crossing right across the middle. And Jason Claremont goes down low in front of Reggie Hunt. And it's enough for a first down.
And the thing you talk about the smarts of Dave Dickinson, but also the confidence to know he can deliver the ball in a tight spot. There's good coverage here. See the pressure from Driniak coming over there. But, I mean, there's Reggie Hunt. Reggie Hunt's right there. But Claremont sits down, knows where the hole is, and the ball is delivered exactly when it has to be.
First down, BC, at their own 47. 5-receiver set. Smith into block. Pressure now. Dickinson tries to escape. And Scott Schultz shoestrings him as he crosses the line of scrimmage for a gain of 2.
Well, Saskatchewan is playing a lot of man-to-man defense right now. They're lining up 5 receivers, the Lions are. Saskatchewan just matching up. He's trying to find somebody. Nobody's open. He has to pull the ball down. And Scott Schultz, who's already created 1 turnover for the defense when he dislodged the ball from Joe Smith, comes up with the tackle after a 2-yard gain on Dave Dickinson.
The number 1 run defense tightening here for Saskatchewan. 2nd and 8. They've got a pass. Dickinson back under pressure again, eludes, and now will run. He's got all kinds of room. And Dickinson diving to the 35. A huge first down.
Mark, man coverage again. Saskatchewan's going to come with the blitz. They get a guy free on the outside. He just doesn't make the play on Dickinson. As a result, there's nobody in the middle, and he just pulls the ball down. Just off the top, you got to make that play. He pulls the ball down. Watch this. He goes head first. Most quarterbacks will slide feet first to prevent getting hit. He's head first. You know he's hungry today.
It's a 26-yard run by Dickinson, who is so smart. His offensive coordinator, Jacques Chapdelaine, was telling us yesterday he maybe made 12 bad reads all season, which is remarkable for a quarterback. This will be the last play of the opening quarter. A bunch formation again for BC on first down. Dickinson, pressure again. He gets away from Davis and Perry. Look at him maneuver. Now Dickinson riding, and he's hit hard. Kitwana Jones and Fred Perry on the feet first slide, and the Lions don't like that shot.
Well, the Lions don't like that, but they have to understand that Dave Dickinson this time slides feet first. The play previous, he went head first. There's nothing wrong with that hit. It's just a helmet in the midsection. It's a good job, but again, Dave Dickinson taking what he has and making the Saskatchewan defense pay.
Second quarter straight ahead here at BC Place Stadium in Vancouver. Let's quickly look at the first quarter statistics.
Well, I mean, obviously, you take a look at the yards right there. Saskatchewan only 2 possessions of the football, 2 drives in the first quarter. They did get a turnover on Joe Smith fumbling the ball by Scott Schultz, but Dave Dickinson has been the story. He's on the sidelines. This is just a second and short gamble. Buck Pierce is in, but he's run the ball 4 times for 38 yards in that first quarter.
You got to wonder if that's something that Saskatchewan game planned for in this game. Dave Dickinson, the rushing quarterback. Second and about 3. Double tight end formation. Buck Pierce handing off to Joe Smith. He cuts up inside. And this will be very close. He needed to get just past the 25-yard line. And we'll see where they spot it. A reminder, Warrior of the Year, we'd like you to log on in the second half and cast your vote for the player with grit and character. Cast your vote for Warrior of the Year. GMC is giving away 2 trucks, 1 for you and 1 for the Warrior of the Year. It's third down. And now Paris Jackson is into the game, or sorry, Jarius Jackson into the game on 3rd and 1, and he'll have the first down rolling off the pile.
Initially stopped, but great second effort by Jarius Jackson, the Notre Dame grad, to roll off to the left side and pick up the necessary yardage. Initially he stopped. That's a great surge by the interior of the Roughrider defensive line. But no support to the outside as Jackie Mitchell gets there late. As a result, Jarius can roll off and
he
pick up
nearly
the
lost
first down.
the football, Chris. He lost the ball into his elbow and then managed to regain control as he rolled off that pile. As Dave Dickinson comes back to the helm here of the BC Lions. First down at the 24. Handing off to Joe Smith. He's strung out, cuts up. And a big gain on first down as Jackie Mitchell finally puts a stop to Big Joe Smith. An 8-yard rush to the man that not many BC guys really know, Chris. He's a bit of an enigma here.
Well, Haji Razuli and Jimenez, the right guard and right tackle, do a nice job, and you see 60 down there just getting enough of a push to spring Joe Smith to the outside. Louisiana Tech grad, first year in the CFL, making his presence felt early, running hard this afternoon.
10 touchdowns in 13 games in his rookie season as a BC Lion. Second down, 1 to go, double tight formation again. And Pierce hands off to Joe Smith, and it's tough slugging up the gut. And again, this is going to be very close. Jimenez is signaling first down for BC.
One of the things that BC really did in the offseason early this year was toughen up this offensive line. They added 2 import tackles, Murphy and Jimenez on the outside, but Bates, Reed, and Razuli, who's in there for injured Bobby Singh, are a lot more physical. And now they're not so scared to take an opportunity or a chance to go for 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, and just do a dive play with your running back, Joe Smith.
Here's the measurement. And it's a first down. And now a challenge for the Saskatchewan defensive coordinator. There he is, Richie Hall, one of the masterminds of defense in this league. And this is the 10th play of this drive for BC. Can Hall and the Riders stiffen here in the red zone? Dickinson in the shotgun. Time. Now he's flushed. Throws it away. A smart decision for this conservative quarterback who, unlike Henry Burris of a week ago, does not take chances with the football.
But pressure forced Dave Dickinson not to see Jason Claremont, who's going to come in and fake like he's going to block on the inside. Watch him go to the inside. Freeze it, guys. Look how wide open he is right here. That is Jason Claremont. There's no one around him, but the pressure forces Dave Dickinson to throw that ball away.
But also some of those defenders where their hands up were close. It would have been a tough ball to thread in that rush. 2nd and 10 on the 14. Dickinson throwing into the end zone deep for Jackson. He's got it. Touchdown, BC. A thrilling diving catch at the back of the end zone for Paris Jackson.
Well, Paris Jackson leaves his feet, goes horizontal to make a great grab at the back of the end zone. Watch him leave his feet, try and find that. What great concentration. And you see the foot comes down inbounds at the back of the end zone. So it's a great catch. Paris Jackson with his 3rd touchdown of the season against a very tough Saskatchewan defense. And I know they like to look at Geroy Simon when they're down in the red zone, the scoring zone, but one of the things, one of the weapons, one of the things that's about all the weapons of the BC Lions is if it's not Simon, it could be Jackson, it could be Claremont.
Well, Paris Jackson had a 3rd the yards that Geroy Simon had this year. The Riders have a man down, Christian Clovis. But Jackson on a 14-yard outstretched catch.
Hey, that's the mumble on Pete. That's Gertie, that's for you. I haven't seen you in a minute. I told you I was going to touchdown for you.
And Clovis is up and moving under his own steam. The Riders have been accused of sometimes getting a breather by having a man down. We saw Luke Molinder do that last week.
Well, it's an interesting time after the touchdown to go down. Usually if they're driving the football, you go down. But after you've had a touchdown scored against you, that's not really the greatest time to go down.
And you never want to second guess whether a football player is in fact injured. Paul McCallum to convert that Paris Jackson touchdown. And it's routine. Paris Jackson puts the BC Lions in front by a touchdown in the 2nd quarter. Jacques Chapdelaine, the BC offensive coordinator, scoping this high-powered BC offense after the big touchdown.
Well, Kitwana Jones is going to come in. He's just going to play a little game with the blitz to the inside. They get picked up. Nice job of the offensive line. Bates to pick it up and freeze it right here, guys. And what you see here is just Paris Jackson running away from the cover man, and that is James Johnson. What you don't see is underneath. They run a little underneath route up to the sideline with Geroy Simon. They both bid on Simon because we talked about usually he's the go-to guy in the red zone, and they forgot about picking up Paris Jackson.
Dave Dickinson has been so accurate and so composed, passing and running the football early in this game. Here's Dominic Dorsey cutting upfield, and Carl Kidd will fall on him after an 11-yard return. It was Paris Jackson capping that 11-play scoring drive. It began with Dave Dickinson running the football twice, then the 3rd down gamble, and Big Joe Smith plunged ahead before Dickinson found Paris Jackson at the back of the end zone, scorching rookie James Johnson again. Dickinson banged up this year, but when he's healthy, there's no one in his league. And again, Joseph fighting the crowd up behind his center now, O'Day. And he goes to the option, and it goes nowhere. Carl Kidd hammering the Saskatchewan quarterback at the line of scrimmage. Down to the sidelines, and here's Brenda.
Well, Mark, there are more than 50,000 fans here at BC Place Stadium today. The fans know they are creating all sorts of problems for Kerry Joseph and his offense. Coach Danny Barrett has been coming over to the bench, telling his players to let Joseph know if they can't hear the call by putting their hands up in the air. Now, when the Riders are on offense, it's so loud in here, it's pretty much impossible to hear what someone next to you is saying.
Well, Brenda, I remember back in 1994, the Grey Cup here, the Baltimore Stallions had their offensive linemen outfitted with special hearing aids to try to filter this noise. It is amazing how piercing the sound can be underneath this fabric roof.
What it does, Mark.
There was a penalty after the play, Chris, unnecessary roughness, the call, and so this just makes it even harder on Saskatchewan. Second now and 26.
That just makes them hesitate because of the noise.
Joseph barking the signals to the line. They're looking back. Mass confusion, and they get the ball off. Joseph looking to run, and he'll go nowhere. This Saskatchewan offense is confused and really hampered by this crowd noise.
Mark, you hit on it earlier, and I'm going to bring it up again. If you can't work the shotgun, you're going to have to come underneath the center. Right now, they're having all these difficulties. You see Jeremy O'Day barking signals to Andrew Green. These are the guys we've got to pick up. They both slide that way. But the problem is, if you're going to rely on your whole game plan to be Joseph running the football, you're in a heap of trouble.
Well, if he can't communicate and get the plays off, they're going to be in a heap of trouble.
Well, that's why, and I'm going to, you brought it up already. Come under the center.
Yep.
He can feel you. Take away one of the problems that you're having with the communication of getting the snap count.
Now a huge swing in field position in favor of BC. Flag flies as Neil Hughes comes off the ball before the snap. And you have to wonder whether Kanji now will step back into his own end zone and give up the safety to try to get better field position here.
Well, I think that's a smart thing to do early in this game. They did it last week against
Procedure,
the Stampeders.
Saskatchewan, number 32. 5-yard penalty, repeat, third down.
Well, another penalty going against Saskatchewan. And that just puts Kanji a little deeper. He's inside the goal line right now. And I think exactly that, Mark. You've got to give up 2 points right now.
Neil Hughes maybe did that just to get them back closer to their own end zone so that Kanji be closer to make the safety. Another flag flies. And this is turning into a fiasco.
Well, they're doing what they're doing here. I mean, you're saying why they keep doing it. They're putting them back and they're pushing them back, but they're also trying to make some sort of a notification to the official, the referee, that they can't hear because of the crowd noise.
They're just trying to get the ball closer to their end zone so that Kanji can be in the end zone when he receives the snap.
Well, he was in the end zone the play previous, so that wasn't. He was behind the goal line. The fact is, if you keep jumping off right now, you're hopefully going to make the official aware that they can't play this game with that kind of noise against when you're on offense.
Boy, it's tough to win when you're just trying to go backwards so you can give up points. And Kanji will concede the safety. And the Saskatchewan Roughriders in trouble here with the crowd and their opponents. Those Saskatchewan fans have made the trek here to BC Place. They're all over this country. Their team down 12-3 here in the second quarter. There's Gaynor the Gopher. He got a sideline pass in Vancouver this weekend after being banned from field level at McMahon Stadium 1 week ago. And a huge story that dominated headlines was a short kick from Saskatchewan, and Lyle Green makes the catch and takes a big hit. Let's go inside that BC bench.
Mic'd Up, brought to you by Rogers Wireless, Canada's clearest wireless network.
About the BC Lions show. Starring T-Roy Simon. Pay attention.
Second and 4, second and 5.
Yeah. But see, you know what? I was thinking they could try to run a toss. Yeah.
This is a confident BC football team. Some say bordering on cocky. Wally Buono saying we expect to win this football game. 13 wins, the most of any team in the CFL, as Dickinson throws to the wide side, and Ryan Thelwell is wide open. And again, it's the rookie, James Johnson, the defensive back that Dave Dickinson is picking on.
Well, it doesn't matter what defender or what receiver James Johnson lines up. Dave Dickinson is definitely looking his way. He's coming to that short side of the field right from the get-go. Thelwell catches it, picks up a nice game. What's happening, though, is James Johnson is so worried about getting beat back as he sits in that zone. He's given so much of a cushion. Got to play tough. You got to play aggressive. You can't play conservative back there.
Gain of close to 10 yards on the catch and run by Thelwell. There's the measurement. It is indeed enough. The signal from Glenn Johnson. And the Lions move the yardsticks once again. BC 8-1 at home this year at BC Place, their best home record in nearly 20 years. And coming into this game, Chris, they've been as healthy as they've ever been all year. The question is, can they beat their nemesis after losing 3 of 4 games this year to the Saskatchewan Roughriders? And right now, it's all BC. Dickinson to the short side, a bubble screen to Paris Jackson, gets some nice blocks and hustles upfield. Jackie Mitchell tackling Jackson from behind. A gain of 8.
Quick kicks pass to the sideline mark, but again, sloppy tackling. Something that the Saskatchewan team prides itself on, are not wrapping up. It's a good job by the BC receivers going down there to help Paris Jackson, who's got a touchdown already in this game. 4th-year player out of Utah. Spot player, but boy, he makes his presence felt when he gets an opportunity to catch at great speed, great hands.
Buck Pierce into the game now on 2nd and 1. Short yardage situation for the backup, double tight formation. And he'll hand off. Joe Smith beat a tackle in the backfield by Jeriniak and hustles upfield. See where they spot it. But BC again eating up the clock and controlling the football.
Well, anytime you're using the clock as well as the BC offense, you're limiting what the Saskatchewan offense can do. And Dave Dickinson right now, the fact that he is playing healthy, the fact that he is gaining more confidence with each series, I mean, he can just get it done. Jacques Chapdelaine, his offense coordinator, standing right in front of him.
He was telling us yesterday that this Saskatchewan defense depends on getting to the quarterback in 2.8 seconds, 2.5 seconds to put pressure. And they're not getting it here today. Jarius Jackson on the 3rd and inches gamble, and that mass of humanity is stacked up at the 37, and the quarterback will have the first down.
They are a 3-quarterback system that works so well together. Buck Pierce will run the intermediate short yard where they got 1 to 2 to pick up. Anything shorter, it'll be Jarius Jackson from Notre Dame. Now, he's a big man at 6'1", 230 pounds. Initially stopped again, but rolling over, just rolling, spinning left. Gets hit. Look at that. Picks up the first down.
Tough first down yardage for Jarius Jackson as Ivan Goodfriend looks at Tim Fleiser. Chris, you mentioned before the commercial break the 3 quarterbacks here in BC and how they've worked together. In half their games this year, 2 or more quarterbacks have figured in the outcome for the Lions. And Jacques Chapdelaine was telling us yesterday there is a solidarity among these guys. Dave Dickinson and Buck Pierce and Jarius Jackson, they carpool together, they live nearby in the same neighborhood, and on the sidelines he says they help each other out. It is quite unlike the division of a year ago when there was doubt as to who was the #1 man in this city, Casey Printers or Dave Dickinson. And by the way, Casey Printers is in the stadium coming up from Kansas City to watch his former team. He wanted to stand on the sidelines, but the BC Lions told him today they'd rather have him in the stands. Play action now, and Paris Jackson is open, but it's a short gain as that Saskatchewan secondary led by David Bush sealed quickly, and it's a gain of 2.
Well, I think that was a good move, and I'm just going to finish the thought on Casey Printers when he comes back here. His team is in Miami. He comes down. I like the fact they told him to go sit in the stands. He's not part of this squad anymore. They don't need any distractions. Put him in the stands. He paid for the ticket. Enjoy the game.
And there has been no problem in the locker room this year. The harmonious 3-man quarterback system. that has gotten BC to this Scotiabank West Championship. The blitz is on. Dickinson with time, and a diving catch by Jason Claremont on a crossing route in front of Jackie Mitchell.
Mark, you talked about Dave Dickinson and his health, and he's feeling better every game. Well, Jason Claremont hurt his knee in the first game. Missed 8 games as a result. Just coming across the middle. What a great job of going up and snaring that ball. But he is finally getting back to where he needs to be.
Well, Dave Dickinson has been terrific in the last few years, despite the injuries, completing more than 70% of his passes. That was an interesting matchup, though. Claremont and Jackie Mitchell. Mitchell's been covering Claremont for 5 years. Here's Dickinson going to Claremont again, and he's got the catch. 22 yards. First down, BC to the Saskatchewan 5.
Mark, it's just a different look. They've gone and tried to hit Geroy Simon underneath, running a little post pattern in front of Tristan Clovis. This time they just switch it up. Jason Claremont made the previous catch, runs a nice little post route right underneath the cover man. Clovis comes up with another catch and puts it on the 5-yard line.
Well, the rookie burned there for a big 22-yard pickup, and it's first and goal from the 5. Dickinson throwing wide open. Touchdown, Joe Smith. This offense is a symphony today.
Well, flags are thrown late after the play, and I believe it'll be one of the offensive tackles. They've got a couple emotional guys in Jimenez and Murphy. But again, it's just a matchup, and we talked about Dave Dickinson recognizing the defense right at that pre-snap. Knows he's going to get a matchup with Joe Smith. One-on-one's going to be covered by Reggie Hunt, the inside linebacker. He just runs away from him. It's an easy toss and catch.
Objectionable conduct, taunting, BC number 60. It's a dead ball foul. 10 yards will be applied on the kickoff.
I talked about Jimenez. Very emotional guy. One of the reasons this offensive line is a lot better. They're very aggressive at both tackle spots, and they brought that tenacity, that meanness to the rest of that offensive line. That's why they're a better bunch this year.
That's right. Wally was saying that yesterday. They have the talent, but they're better on offense because they're more physical. McCallum with the point after. And big Joe Smith with a 5-yard touchdown catch puts his team up by, look at that. Well, the #1 passing offense in the CFL is hitting on all cylinders this afternoon.
Well, yeah, you're seeing this. Now watch this. Here's Joe Smith. Here's the guy they're asking to cover him. That's Reggie Hunt. He's on the inside. As we run this play, guys, there's Tristan Clovis, the safety. He just lets him go. Now that's impossibility. You can't ask Reggie Hunt to come from the inside to cover a back floating to the outside. Easy pitch and catch by the BC Lions offense.
Here's Dominic Dorsey now, hustling his way close to midfield, and there's some pushing and shoving after the play, and a flag is down. We remind you to log on to cbc.ca/CFL in the second half and cast your vote for Warrior of the Game. You'll decide who showed the true character and grit of a football player. Warrior of the Game, brought to you by the all-new 2007 GMC Sierra. There's a strong candidate right there. Carl Kidd, always in the Warrior neighborhood.
Well, Carl Kidd, but you really got to be impressed. You mentioned it earlier, Dave Dickinson has not won a playoff game with the BC Lions since he's been with this franchise. He's well on his way to rectifying that today.
Well, the penalty was holding against Saskatchewan, and so they'll move back to their 41-yard line. Make it to 42 on first down, and again, the crowd makes a deafening noise. Joseph, play action, under pressure, dumps it across the middle to Kenton Keith, and he's hammered at the line of scrimmage. Kidd, Glatt, and Wilson all in the neighborhood.
Well, the noise has been an issue all afternoon for the Saskatchewan offense. You see before the game, there's Kerry Joseph working with on the shotgun snap with Jeremy O'Day, but looking at the game, trying to get that ball, waiting, expecting. This happened a number of times. Now he's going to go over and talk to him again and say, listen, when I signal with your, either by lifting the foot or giving the shake with the hands, you got to give me the football.
A one-sided passing game here today. Joseph has to throw here. He's under pressure now. Gets himself some time, heads upfield, breaks a tackle, fighting for that first down yardage. A 210-pound quarterback paying a price, looking for that first down stick.
Well, once again, it's a scenario where Kerry Joseph can't find anybody downfield. He's got to scramble for his life. Gets to the outside. He's got to put his shoulders down. Does a nice job of fighting to try and pick up the first down. It's going to come back just a little bit short. Take a look at Jason Armstead. He just runs away from the coverage, but when you get pressure like that, he just can't deliver the ball.
Well, Joseph was running for his life. He couldn't see Armstead. And it's third down and a good yard to go. And Danny Barrett is in no mood to gamble.
Well, we haven't even looked at that scenario, but absolutely, Mark, on a third and a yard to gamble on third down, where again, communication to getting that ball is huge. You don't want to turn over and give BC instant field position again.
That's the third 2-and-out offensive series for Saskatchewan. BC's had 2 long drives, 11 plays and 8 plays. Short punt again by Kanji. Smart at the 26, cutting upfield, and there's nowhere to go as Kitwana Jones makes the tackle. And the handoff is to Joe Smith, sticking his nose up the gut. Jacques Chapdelaine saying if they can get 4-5 yards on first down carries from Joe Smith, that really sets up the offense.
They utilize the running back position different than most clubs, where most clubs want your running back basically to be a good running back and pile up the yards carrying the football. BC expects you not only to do that, but catch the ball, but more importantly, be a blocking back.
Joe Smith had 1,307 combined yards, second only to G. Roy Simon in his abbreviated rookie season. Dickinson dropping way back under pressure, and the screen pass is incomplete, intended for Joe Smith, and Kitwana Jones and Maurice Lloyd in the neighborhood.
Well, trying to set up that screen, and that's a good job by the Saskatchewan defense to stop him on this drive.
This Saskatchewan defense has been on the field a lot in this first half. Riders trailing by 16 points with 2:47 to go on the clock. And Canadian Tire at the half. Elliott and the panel, Ferzi, Millie, and Kahari standing by to talk about this one-sided first half in favor of the Lions, and then we go back in the day. Speaking of kickers, we revisit the outstanding career of one of the favorite BC Lions, Louis Pasaglia.
Mark, that was their first 2-and-out for the BC offense.
McCallum gets away a rocket, and it's fumbled. Dorsey puts it on the ground. There's a pile-up. The Lions say they have it. It's BC football. Tyson Craig's the long snapper on that 60-yard punt, and the turnover by Dorsey.
Well, Tyson Craig, 51. The long snapper is going to put his helmet to the football. He's the spearhead. Almost recovered. It looks like Carl Kidd. Not sure about that, but just took his eyes off the ball. It is Carl Kidd. And as you say, Tyson Craig, a big turnover. And once again, the BC offense with great field position.
You don't say too many long snappers downfield as fast as Tyson Craig's. A big fumble recovery. The first Saskatchewan turnover. Dickinson trying to convert. He finds Claremont in the flats, and Claremont is battling very close to the first down marker as the Lions try to take advantage of this Saskatchewan turnover. This Tuesday night at 9 on CBC, Ian Tracy stars in Intelligence. It's a crime drama set in a world of espionage where the rules are there are no rules. Intelligence Tuesday at 9 on CBC. Gain of 9 yards by Jason Claremont, 2nd and 1. And this defense is being pushed back again. The rookie Maurice Jones, who had a thrilling playoff debut last week in the West semifinal. And Jarius Jackson on the short yardage play will bulldoze ahead for the BC first down. mentioned that Casey Printers is in the house. This was the scene before the game. The former controversial BC quarterback talking with Jarius Jackson. Nate Davis was there. And then Wally Buono asked that Casey Printers not be on the sidelines and find a place in the stadium, thinking he could well be a distraction. Dave Dickinson is no question the #1 quarterback this year in BC after the quarterback controversy over the last couple of years when Printers was a member of the BC Lions. Nate Davis is slow to get up.
Remember, most of the time those quarterback controversies involving Dave Dickinson involved Dave Dickinson being hurt, losing his spot. Casey Printers came on, had that masterful year. Then he got to start in the Grey Cup game and he couldn't get that victory for the BC Lions. And this year he's had injury problems again, but coming on, as we said earlier today, feeling healthy for the first time and having a great first half so far.
It was just 1 year ago in this very stadium, the 2005 Scotiabank West Championship. Dave Dickinson and Casey Printers playing in that football game, and Printers and Dickinson going down to defeat and unable to make it to the Grey Cup game played 1 week later here in Vancouver. And you know, that bitter taste still in the mouths of these BC players who hope to get back to the Grey Cup this year.
And you see Nate Davis leaving the field. They can ill afford to lose the big warrior at that tackle position, a real leader. Luke Melinder in there.
It is a first down for the BC Lions at the 13 of Saskatchewan. Dave Dickinson threatening to put a stranglehold on this football game. Throwing to the end zone deep again, and it's way too far. Intended for G. Simon and incomplete. G. Simon led this football team this year, Chris, as it went through 3 different quarterbacks because of the injuries to Dave Dickinson, and they lost Tony Simmons in week 2. But look at the lion's share of touchdowns that he contributed in this tremendous season.
Well, he definitely had, and as you say, the odds-on favorite to take the most outstanding player. Scored touchdowns in 11 of the 18 games this season.
2nd and 10. BC. They have 3 receivers now to the weak side. Dickinson looking to the wide. Under pressure. He'll run again. No, he'll throw at the line of scrimmage. And it's short and incomplete. Dickinson challenging the line of scrimmage and missing.
Well, he missed because Scott Schultz did a nice job of not giving up on the play. Number 96 is just going to fall off. And as he runs and comes back inside, watch him just get the back of the heel, and that forces that ball to be thrown down in the dirt. Second effort, great second effort shown by Scott Schultz.
Paul McCallum set to attempt this field goal from the 20-yard line. Buck Pierce to hold. It's up and good, and McCallum would like to get rid of those ghosts from 2 years ago when he shanked that 18-yarder in overtime, as then a member of the Riders went down to defeat to BC as his team up 22-3. This is the final playoff game on the road to the Grey Cup, and our coverage continues. Grey Cup Saturday. It all begins at 2 Eastern with Peter Jordan's Grey Cup Odyssey. Then we've got the Grey Cup Encore, last year's thrilling overtime victory by Edmonton over Montreal, our preview show, and then the Grey Cup Parade live through the streets of Winnipeg. Then Grey Cup Sunday. It all begins at 3 Eastern with our pregame show, Wallabies Warriors 9, leading to the big game itself, kickoff at 6 Eastern. Kenton Keith is chopped down by Dante Marsh, the short side corner, and yardage has been hard to gain for this Saskatchewan offense.
Well, the BC defense has an answer for everything that the Saskatchewan offense is trying to do. They're trying to get Kenton Keith involved in this game. They do a little swing pass, get him out there, but as you say, Dante Marsh reads that all the way, and he's up there to bring him down quickly.
Minute 21 until halftime. Kerry Joseph desperate to get something going. Remember, in the last minute last week, he threw that 22-yard touchdown pass to Matt Dominguez and began that 25 unanswered point comeback against Calgary.
Well, they were down at that time 21-5. They're down right now 22-3 to BC. So can he perform the same kind of a magic?
Saskatchewan now with 3 receivers 10 yards behind their quarterback. And they'll take a flying start. 2nd and 11. Pressure. Joseph can't find anybody. He'll run again. And Joseph heading for that first down marker at the 45. He'll be forced out of bounds 2 or 3 yards shy by Corey Banks.
Was going to come up short. They tried a little adaptation on their offense, as you say, by starting the receivers a little deeper so they could time it when they're releasing on the snap count. But once again, nothing for Kerry Joseph to throw to. As a result, he's got to pull that ball down, and as he's done almost this entire first half, he's had to pull it and run it himself.
You got to wonder, remember last week before Kerry Joseph engineered that touchdown to Matt Dominguez, Danny Barrett was telling us yesterday he was considering a quarterback change, going to Marcus Crandall, who has playoff experience, was the Grey Cup MVP in 2001 in that Calgary victory. And there's a shank punt by Kanji. The rookie punter flubs the kick off the side of his foot. Good field position for BC.
The handoff is too good on that similar play. He finds the hole over left tackle, goes to 5, 10, and 15. Again, back to King Space, heading back to the 40 for a pass over to the side. That is good to Harry Hood. He's on the 20, the 25, the 30, the 35, the 40, and Kovic is going down for a touchdown. He's over.
Tremendous 94-year tradition of Grey Cup championships in this country coming your way again this Sunday from Winnipeg. Dave Dickinson having a tremendous first half, rolling away from pressure now to the wide side, throwing across the middle. It's incomplete. Intended for Claremont. He wants a flag. Eddie Davis draped all over him, and he broke that up aggressively.
Mark, but what a great offensive scheme, and they're going to slide the offensive line, and I believe it's Lyle Green is going to pin the end on the outside, and that's going to buy all sorts of time for Dave Dickinson to get to the outside where he's got a clear throwing lane. Now, Claremont thinks he was interfered with. He went down. There might have been a little contact, but he didn't come up with that ball anyway.
Fans also seeing that replay on the Jumbotron here at BC Place. They didn't like the call.
As expected, your home crowd should never like the call when it goes against you.
2nd and 10 for the Lions at their 51. Here comes the blitz. There's a flag. Davis was across the line of scrimmage. Wide open is Ryan Thelwell at the wide side. And he gets a first down after breaking the tackle.
Once again, Mark, this is a across the field throw by Dave Dickinson. Heads up by Dave Dickinson because Eddie Davis was coming on the blitz. He was offside. He got to the outside, delivered the ball to a wide open Thelwell.
Saskatchewan number 46. The penalties decline. First down.
Well, they're going to call Kitwana Jones, but it looked like Eddie Davis on the short side as well had jumped the gun. And there he is right there. That's Eddie Davis. They're going to call the offside on the other side. I guess they could have picked either number.
Well, after the gain of 12 by Thelwell, Lions declining. Dickinson dodging attackers in the pocket. Now he throws. Claremont settling in that hook zone at the 40. What a nice move to get past Reggie Hunt and fight his way to another first down.
What I'm seeing here is not only perfect execution and the defense reads by Dickinson, but the receivers doing an excellent job after the catch of picking up additional yardage, breaking tackles, making people miss. Look at Dickinson scrambling, finding a wide open Claremont, and then the strength of Claremont to pick up additional yardage.
Jason Claremont missing 8 weeks of the season after that horrible knee injury at the beginning of the year, and looks sharp here tonight. This is not good news after Nate Davis went down. Now Scott Schultz is injured for Saskatchewan.
Well, both interior tackles of the Saskatchewan defense, Schultz and Nate Davis, they say, have left the game, and Schultz, they seem to be working on that left hip. Obviously concern, and defense coordinator Richie Hall right there wondering and hoping
Nate
he
Davis
can
has
turn
gone
it
back.
around.
Excuse me, Chris. Nate Davis has gone back on the field now for Saskatchewan after he was dinged up. But Scott Schultz has been the heart and soul of that D-line all year.
Remember that the other player that they dressed today, Tim Fleiser also went down earlier with an injury, so they're nicked up right across that as far as the guys they like to rotate with.
And this Saskatchewan defense really depends on its front four to get pressure on the quarterback, and they haven't been able to do that in this first half.
This is a front four that has 7 sacks against the BC Lions in the 4 games they've played. Jeriniak leads with 3, Perry had 2, and basically Jeriniak and Perry have been silent this afternoon.
There's Fred Perry, who has rejuvenated his career in Saskatchewan. Some tremendous numbers this year, just 2 sacks shy of the CFL leader, Brent Johnson of the BC Lions. 29 seconds and counting. Dickinson throwing for the end zone, looking for Paris Jackson. He's got it, a jumping catch in the end zone. 35 yards, his second touchdown of the game. And they burn the rookie, James Johnson, once more.
Mark, they got double coverage on this play. James Johnson and David Bush are both got the receiver. They get tangled with themselves. The only guy that fights himself free to come back is Paris Jackson. He finds the football, comes up with another grab, and his second touchdown of the afternoon. Watch how he comes back. It almost looks like you're running a fade where the receiver will run deep and then come back to the football, but the defenders lose the ball. The only one that sees the football is Paris Jackson.
Well, coaches will call that a bad read by the quarterback when he throws into double coverage, but that's where you count on your receiver to use his athletic ability to go up for the football, as Paris Jackson did. A 35-yard touchdown catch, and BC leads it 29-3. There he is, the powerful North Van Canadian receiver, Paris Jackson, having a red-letter day here in Vancouver. 2 touchdown catches in that first half, and that was a tremendous effort going up for the Dave Dickinson pass.
Well, they say when it comes to playoff time in the big games, you know who the stars are already in G. Simon. It's going to be the other players that'll step up and have their name called. And so far this afternoon, it's number 19, Paris Jackson, as he finds the football in double coverage. Bush and Johnson not even playing that ball, and you better start playing a little bit more physical with this BC receiving crew, or it's going to get ugly, and it's ugly right now.
Well, what a reversal of fortune for Johnson. 2 interceptions a week ago, and he's been scorched for the first half by Dave Dickinson. Dorsey put the ball down earlier in this quarter. He's got a nice looking return here up the sideline, and then gang tackled from behind as he gets close to the Saskatchewan 50-yard line with just 12 seconds on the clock. But let's get back to the quarterbacking situation in Saskatchewan. Might they be thinking about a change just to shake things up, going to Crandall from Joseph?
Well, I think you have to. It really, nothing's happening. Kerry Joseph is not throwing the football. Right now is being forced to pull it down and run with it every time, and you just can't do it. They've had 3 2-and-outs the last 3 drives. You've got to get something offensively going. Look at those numbers. 3 of 7 for 34 yards. You're just not going to get it done with those kind of numbers.
They've had no offense here in the first half. Joseph in just his second playoff game in the CFL. Second time in 6 years he's been in a playoff situation after the NFL. A long, deep pass looking for Dominguez. He's got it. Dominguez looking back against Dante Marsh. And there's some discussion down at the 15-yard line.
Well, Dante Marsh is running over to Coach Buono, saying that he may want to challenge this to see if he came down out of bounds. But he's in bounds. Maybe he's just trying to plead his case that he was interfered with by Greg Dominguez.
Great job. 48 yards. And Buono contemplating. No, he won't throw the challenge flag as Kanji comes out to attempt a field goal with just 4 seconds on the clock.
Well,
very
Dominguez
similar
who
to
gave
last
a touchdown
year.
For 7, now 3.
Remember the Dominguez touchdown catch in the dying seconds last week. Big one here. And now the challenge flag has been thrown and play whistle dead before Kanji can get the field goal off. Buono waiting until the last second.
Well, Dante Marsh was running toward Wally Buono to tell him to challenge this call. It was a catch. He was in bounds.
I think it's more a question of possession. Marsh was questioning whether Dominguez had possession.
Well, it'll be definitely, did he juggle it or did he have possession as he went down to the ground?
Been a hot topic in the CFL this
That's
year.
exactly what Wally's saying. He's saying he juggled the ball. He didn't have firm control of that ball.
BC is challenging whether it's a legal catch. I'll review the play.
This is a good call by Wally anyway. And the fact that the first challenge doesn't cost you a timeout, regardless of the outcome. You've got this huge lead right now. And that may be a good call because of the fact it looks like by the time he did secure that catch mark, he was out of bounds.
I'll tell you what, Dante Marsh, lucky he didn't get called for interference here, sticking his arm up in the receiver's face.
He comes back. He doesn't have control of the football right there. The other angle is great. And as he finally secures it, he's out of bounds. So I think that's exactly what Dante was trying to explain to head coach Buono, to throw that flag, challenge this play.
You could see the ball was loose as he hit the turf there. Hard to tell there. He may have grasped the ball.
Well, we talked about it before. It has to be conclusive to overturn. What interesting is you see that.
Matt Dominguez with two big last-minute plays in the first half of this game and last week. Got the big touchdown last week, and Saskatchewan hoping to get a field goal here and some life, some positive energy to go into halftime after a disparaging and terrible first half.
Well, first half where they basically could find no answers for the BC offense. I mean, Dave Dickinson is on fire right now, and he is just shredding the Saskatchewan defense.
This game looking a lot like the season opener here in BC when Dave Dickinson threw 5 touchdown passes in the first 32 minutes of the game. And the BC Lions throttled Saskatchewan 45-28.
And Mark, you mentioned the fact that would we maybe see a quarterback change for Saskatchewan? Might we see a quarterback change for BC for an entirely different reason? In the fact that they're building up this lead, we might see Buck Pierce in the second half.
Well, that's still to be determined, but you're right. In the last 2 games of the season, Dave Dickinson said he wanted a full game's effort, and Wally gave him a half of each game, giving Buck Pierce some time.
Upon review, the player did in fact catch the ball, keep control, and come down in bounds. Ruling on the field stands.
So the Dominguez 48-yard catch is good. And now Danny Barrett will go for the field goal. From the 22, left hash marks. Rocky Butler to hold for Luca Conji. Kick is up, and it's no good. What else can go wrong for Saskatchewan? Javi Glatt has the ball in the end zone. And this will be the final play. Now there's flags down on the final play of this first half. Let's take a look at the exchange, Chris, and what went wrong for Conji.
Well, Butler's the man responsible for getting that ball down. He just can't get it in time, and as a result, Conji tries to pooch it.
So a bad hold by Butler, and the field goal is no good as they sort out the final flag here on this final play of the first half.
Legal block, BC. While the ball was in the end zone, by rule, it's a single point, and the quarter's over.
A dominating first half for the BC Lions, and Barrett gets but a single to go to the locker room. Down to the sidelines, and here's Brenda.
Well, Wally, I don't have to tell you the kind of pressure your players are under today to win this game. How would you describe how they responded to that pressure in the first half?
Well, they responded to the pressure all year. This is nothing new for them. All the big games this year, our guys have showed up, and tonight, again, they showed up.
You have such a huge lead. What do you say to your club to make sure that they stay sharp in the second half?
Well, I don't have to say anything. They understand what the job is.
Good luck in the second.
Canadian Tire at the half. Autumn starts at Canadian Tire. Now, here's Elliot Friedman.
A fumbled punt by Dorsey, a shank punt from Conji, and a bad hold by Rocky Butler cost the Saskatchewan Roughriders 12 points late in the first half. And guys, somewhere the Calgary Stampeders are saying, man, we lost to this team? Now, Kahari as the quarterback, the big story there, Joseph struggling with the noise. What are you supposed to do?
Well, it's obvious to me that Saskatchewan came in with one plan for the noise, and that is the silent count. What I'm seeing is he's putting his foot up to signal the center, and the center is not seeing it, and they have 3 time count violations. That's just unacceptable. You have to be able to do different things. I think one thing, Kerry Joseph, he's gone under center, but then you don't get the same view that you get from in the shotgun. And it's affecting them.
And Carr, you know, there's going to be some question as to whether we see Marcus Crandall in the second half. And I don't think it's time for Marcus Crandall yet, because Kerry Joseph has completed this exact same type of pass they just did to Mac Dominguez last week in Calgary, and that sparked into a comeback that ended up defeating Calgary. So I say you give him the first series coming back out in the second half.
Hey, Pinball waited 1 series too long today. Carl Kidd in the BC defense, Sean.
Carl Kidd has been all over the field. He was there on the fumble. He's also sacked the quarterback one time. And Coach Wally Buono said that Carl Kidd is a player who's done everything we've asked of him this season. He's not been an every down player like he was in the past, but this game you can expect to see more of him, and we definitely have so far.
But Sean, this is frustrating me. The Saskatchewan offensive coordinators have overthought this game plan. What has got them success is Kenton Keith. He's only touched the ball 3 times in the first half.
Well, we're 30 minutes of football away, Greg Ferris, from Dave Dickinson not having to hear he's never won a playoff game in BC.
Well, he's fantastic. I was talking to Cato, the equipment manager, before this game, and he pointed up to Dave Dickinson's locker. He's going to have a great game. But you know, it's interesting what they're doing. Anything 2nd and 3 or shorter, they're bringing in Buck Pierce or Jarius Jackson. That's giving Jacques Chapdelaine, the offensive coordinator, some time with Dave Dickinson on the sidelines preparing for the next play. That's a very interesting move on their part.
And one of the things I love about watching Dave Dickinson today is his footwork. I mean, this guy is in the pocket. He's moving really well. Even when people are coming free for Saskatchewan Roughriders, he's able to get out of the way and make something happen.
All right, guys, we showed the pictures a few minutes ago of Casey Printers being here. Now, we haven't seen Roy Shivers, but we have seen Casey Printers. What do you guys think about that?
Well, what I do know is that he doesn't play for the BC Lions. He plays for the Kansas City Chiefs, as far as I know, and they play Miami actually today. So if he's going to be supporting a team, he should be supporting the Kansas City Chiefs as the team that he plays for.
It seems to me it's, you know, a little bit more of exactly why they had problems with Casey Printers last year, because he's here, you know, in my mind, trying to get some attention. He's here before the game, you know, in a position where he's getting the cameras on him, and that's creating a distraction for a team that he's supposed to be supporting.
And he is trying to get attention. I mean, that's what he's doing. He doesn't know if he's going to be in Kansas City next year, and he wants to keep his name out there, keep his face out there. So just like a lot of quarterbacks in this league have gone down and then came back up.
After today, you've got to wonder, is he going to be in Toronto next year? We're going to take the break. When we come back, we'll have Back of the Day. We'll lead you into the second half. The guy who's been the story in the first half as much as Dave Dickinson, Paris Jackson, got away with a push-off on the second TD, but a great move anyway.
Back in the Day, brought to you by Nissan Versa, the larger-than-life small car.
If there's a kicking record in the books that doesn't have Louis Passaglia's name beside it, we can only assume that it's a mistake. 25 seasons, 408 games, 3,991 points scored. Passaglia did more in a Lions uniform than the guy from The Wizard of Oz. He was the first man to score 200 points in a season, but the biggest kick in his career came when the Vancouver native did it on home soil to win the '94 Grey Cup. You, the fans, have voted, and you've asked to see for the Grey Cup Classic tomorrow night from the 50s, the 1954 game between Edmonton and Montreal, the beginning of that Eskimos dynasty featuring the late, great Jackie Parker. Well, you have to wonder which former teammate Paul McCullum was taunting slightly here. His team's up big.
Welcome back to the Scotiabank West Championship, where the hometown BC Lions have a 25-point lead over the Saskatchewan Roughriders at halftime. Right now, let's go to the sidelines, and here's Brenda Irving standing by with Danny Barrett.
Danny, noise obviously an issue in that first half. What is your club going to do to try to deal with it differently?
Well, we pretty much got to keep our composure more than anything else. We'll really see what we made of this quarter, though. We're going to take the ball here and try to do something with it.
What about Kerry Joseph? Will he start the half?
He will start the half and hopefully get us back into it, but it's got to be a good third quarter for him.
Okay, good luck.
Thank you.
You really tell how noisy that first half was. Danny's already lost his voice. 25 points, that's the margin right now. That's exactly the number of points, unanswered points, that Saskatchewan scored last week to come from behind to win. Can they do it this time?
Oh, I don't know. I think the circumstances are a little different right now, and the fact you're playing a very fired up BC team, both offensively, who are firing on all cylinders, and defensively are not. They're just suffocating the Saskatchewan offense with the help of the 13th man in the crowd.
Let's take a look at the first half statistics in this Scotiabank West Championship, and it's pretty obvious it's all BC.
Well, when you take a look at that, and obviously the yards passing for Saskatchewan, 82 yards, 48 of them on the last play to Matt Dominguez, so it's even less than that. Only 3 first downs to 18 for BC. Time of possession, obviously a huge factor with BC Lions controlling the clock. Only 8 minutes. We say 9. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt. We'll round it off to 9 for Saskatchewan. They have got to start controlling the clock. They have got to start getting some points.
The BC Lions, on the other hand, have so many great athletes. This year, Chris, 22 different BC players scored at least 1 touchdown, and today Leroy Simon hasn't been the big star. They've used players like Paris Jackson and Joe Smith to do the damage. The Scotiabank West Championship proudly presented in high definition as we get the second half underway, and Dominic Dorsey will start from his 20-yard line straight up the near sideline. Dorsey is hammered as he crosses the 43-yard line. Jamel Johnson making the tackle for the BC Lions. Let's look at the numbers put up in the air by Kerry Joseph in that first half.
Well, 4 for 8. I mean, that's like one drive, but basically here's where he had some success, and that was the last play of the first half when he threw a 48-yarder to Dominguez. I mean, they forced him to go shallow, and most of the time when he's not throwing in those 8 attempts, he's been running for his life.
Sure has. Fighting the crowd and the BC defense. Dominguez alone to the short side. 4 receivers to the wide side. Joseph out of the flats to Kenton Keith. He's surrounded, and Otis Floyd is the first man to make the tackle right at the line of scrimmage. He may have lost some yardage on that play.
Well, you can tell the game plan right now is to try and get Kenton Keith back into this offense. Only 3 touches in the first half. You've got to get the man that was mainly responsible for that huge comeback last week over Calgary, the football. They just do a little dump pass, but the team speed of the Lions just surrounds him.
He only had 1 rushing play in the first half. You mentioned last week in the West Semi, 141 yards on the ground, and he opened the second half with that 76-yard touchdown run. Here's the blitz. Joseph in trouble, and they've got him. Corey Banks, the first Lion in a host of Lions there, and that's the 3rd sack of Kerry Joseph by this hungry BC defense.
Well, they were bringing the blitz. Corey Banks, the halfback blitz, just come from the outside. You know, he's not a quiet guy. He's in there. He's very vocal.
They're old teammates last year in Ottawa. Now they're...
Well, Kerry Joseph not happy with the treatment. He's just going to come off the edge. Charles Thomas tries to get a hand on him, pushes to the ground, but you got to get out there. It's tough on a little guy like that. He's got great speed. But as a tackle, you've got to shallow out. You got to kick out a little bit more than drop straight back, and that'll take away the corner. You see Dave Ritchie, the defensive coordinator, having a word, telling Corey Banks to keep his composure.
He does have a combustible attitude. Kanji to punt. Low snap, just gets it away as the Lions came after the block. Good bounce over the head of Ian Smart. Back to his 25. Bellying back to the 21. Gets away from Chernosky. And then he's tackled by Maurice Lloyd. A favorable bounce, and again, more bad blood after the play as these teams push and shove for the 2nd play in a row.
Well, you know, the Saskatchewan Roughriders doing everything they possibly can to get themselves back in the game, and that may mean firing themselves up. Now, they don't want to take penalties, but they want to make sure that everybody says, you know what, we're down by 25, but we've got to still play this game. We've done it last week. If you fold your tent now, you're in trouble.
Lloyd, the rookie out of Connecticut, taking his spot in the middle linebacker position. He was a force a week ago. Dickinson now. First down at his own 32. Hand off to Joe Smith in a gaping hole against this Rider defense. And the #1 defense against the run is looking porous on that play. A gain of 13 by Joe Smith.
Well, they have not been able to get any pressure on Dave Dickinson. Let's take a look at his passing chart in the first half. 19 to 26, 211, 3 touchdowns. You got a touchdown to Paris Jackson. You've got another one over here to Paris Jackson. And, of course, the last one over, a little slide out 5-yarder to Joe Smith. So he's utilized almost every receiver that's possible to throw that ball to.
Dickinson straight back to pass. Some pressure now. Perry gets a hand on him. The ball's away, though, and Claremont's wide open. Maurice Lloyd, the middle linebacker, was in coverage. And it's a big first down and a gain of 13 to Claremont.
Well, Jason Claremont, who had 6 catches in the first half, really becoming a factor and a go-to guy. They finally get a little pressure. Fred Perry, but not before Dave Dickinson can swing that ball out to Claremont.
Jason Claremont has just 1 touchdown catch against Saskatchewan in 10 games during his career. But he's been a force here today. Look at the numbers. 7 receptions for 84 yards. The Regina native putting a lick on his hometown team, the Riders. Joe Smith on first down will have a gain of 4.
Well, Dave is just doing a great job of sprinkling a little bit of Joe Smith on the aerial assault he's throwing at the Saskatchewan secondary. He's just doing a great job of sliding over, little handoff. Mazzulli blocking his guy to the outside. Jimenez doing a nice job, and Joe Smith taking advantage and picking up good first down production.
Mark it 2nd and 5 for BC. At the 47 of Saskatchewan. 4-man rush against Dickinson. He's got time. Crossing route to Ryan Thelwell. He beats Reggie Hunt. And it's another first down for the BC Lions. Again, it's all the supporting cast today that are shining in the BC offense.
That all starts up front. Let's take a look. Here's your outstanding candidate. Watch him just crunch Fred Perry as they try and attempt to run a stunt against Rob Murphy and Kelly Bates.
Bunch formation now on first down. And off is to Joe Smith, and he's rumbling with abandon now, cutting back up the middle. And that gain will be 6 yards on first down.
And this is what a good offense will do. It'll get the killer instinct. You got your foot on the throat, keep squeezing right now. They've had success through the air. Again, they're going to come back and pound Joe Smith back up the middle.
With the lead and with those big first down carries, Jacques Chapdelaine has all kinds of plays at his disposal in this BC offense. 2nd and 4. Back to pass. Dickinson to the sideline. And it's complete. Leroy Simon makes the catch on Eddie Davis. Davis thought he was out.
Eddie Davis is going to try and plead his case to the official on the sideline, but a little bit of a corner route by Leroy Simon. You know he's got to get in this football game. He's happy his team is winning. Foot looks a little bit on that sideline, though, as he tries to drag it. He's going to have 1 foot in as he catches it.
Oh, he's on the white. No catch.
It's a good call by the official.
So it's 3rd and 4. And McCallum will attempt this field goal now. It's like the 37-yard line where Buck Pierce will spot the ball. And McCallum's kick is up and good. Right through the uprights. And just like that, the hole gets deeper for Saskatchewan. There's There's Brent Johnson, who led the CFL in sacks for the second year in a row. He's the anchor man of a BC defense which got under Kerry Joseph's skin in Saskatchewan's last series.
Mic'd Up, brought to you by Rogers Wireless, Canada's clearest wireless network.
Hey! Hey, Corey, stay. I got him. Corey, you get us a penalty. Hey, man. Hey, you get us a penalty? I will not. Oh, he can't sit out now like that. All right.
That's big leadership from Brent Johnson to get in the face of teammate Corey Banks and prevent a penalty. After the sack of Joseph, he's in trouble again. Now he rolls away, looking backside. He'll run. Joseph upfield, big effort. First down, Saskatchewan.
Well, nice job of Kerry Joseph trying to make something out of nothing. But again, we emphasize the fact that he is the whole offense for this Saskatchewan team right now. And every time he tries to go downfield, he can't find anything. So you got to give credit to that secondary of the BC Lions, Baron Miles and company. But he ends up pulling the ball down again. Picks up a first down rushing, but I don't know if he wants to do that all game.
Joseph in the hurry-up offense here in the second half. Silent snap count. That moves Brent Johnson, and the flags will go as he crosses the line of scrimmage.
Well, that's a good call as Brent Johnson does cross the line of scrimmage. The official right there blowing the whistle, stopping the play.
Offside, BC number 97. 5-yard penalty. Repeat, first down.
Brent Johnson just trying to get a good start on Charles Thomas. Charles Thomas did a nice job the play previous, blocking Brent Johnson.
First down repeated, 5 yards to go now. And the handoff goes to Kenton Keith, and a big effort by Keith to bulldoze his way to the midfield stripe, and then he's thrown down hard to the turf.
Mark, I'm going to show you something uncharacteristic. As Kenton Keith is fighting for yardage, I'm watching the rest of the Saskatchewan line just standing around. This is a line that prides itself in being a unit, as protecting the quarterback and the running back. And on this play, as Kenton Keith cuts it back up, and as he's swarm tackled by the BC Lions, the rest of the offensive linemen just turn around.
You're right. Keith was left to fend for himself. Second and less than a yard. Double tight formation. Joseph with the sneak. Javi Glatt spearheading over top of the quarterback. But this will be a Saskatchewan first down. It looks like he has the yardage. Let's see where they spot it. Should be very close, though.
Mark, one of the things that's working to Saskatchewan's advantage, they are going with the hurry-up offense, but because the BC Lions have this huge lead, the crowd is not becoming such a factor.
Javi Glatt getting the start this year at middle linebacker after Baron Simpson went to Winnipeg as a free agent. Not as fast as Simpson, the coach says, but faster eyes. Good anticipation. Here comes the blitz. Shovel up the middle. And Kenton Keith has the ball. And Otis Floyd has Kenton Keith at the 50.
Well, Chris Wilson and Otis Floyd converge on Kenton Keith as they try to run the shovel pass up the middle. They recognize there's a blitz coming from the outside. Blitz coming from the outside. We're just going to punch it up inside of that blitz. That was Ryan Phillips on the blitz from the halfback.
Kenton Keith, a big play player, has just 6 rushing yards and 3 receiving yards as Dominic Dorsey checks into the game now. Fake on the flat pass. Joseph in trouble. He throws the ball up for grabs. And it's incomplete. Flag on the play as Armstead came back for the ball. And this might be coming against Saskatchewan.
Yeah, definitely, Mark. It looked like Jason Armstead, who's showing a little bit of the frustration. Good coverage downfield by the BC Lions secondary, and I believe he tried to push off to try and get an opportunity to come back for that ball.
Forward pass interference. Saskatchewan number 1. That penalty's declined. Third down.
Frustration as Armstead went up against one of his old teammates from Ottawa. And Joseph in desperation.
Look at the strength of Kerry Joseph as he's grabbed by the ankle. They're trying to bring him down, but just got enough strength in that arm to whip the ball down and try and get a catch to Armstead.
Actually, it was Glover on the corner, not Kerry Banks. Kanji, end over end, not very deep. In the air, it's Ian Smart at his 20, and he hustles upfield and is dropped down quickly by Donnie Ruiz. You're watching the CFL on CBC. Well, it's a stranglehold lead for BC here in the third quarter as Dave Dickinson continues at the helm of this Lion offense. Here comes the blitz. Dickinson backpedaling, throws the screen to Smith. He trips, holds on to the football right at the 30-yard line. A gain of maybe a yard or two on the play.
He just outruns this. They're trying to set up the screen, and he loses the vision of this leading blocker, Kelly Bates, and he runs into the back of Kelly Bates as he catches the ball, and that's the reason he goes down.
So it's a gain of just one on that botched screen play to Smith. 2nd and 9. Bunch formation for the Lions. Blitz from Saskatchewan backside. Dickinson gets away upfield, and he'll be shy of the first down, but there's a flag down. Somebody lost a helmet.
Well, that's Kitwana Jones, and he's pointing at Rob Murphy. He's frustrated. Maurice Lloyd's going to plead his case as well. We talked about the aggressiveness of these tackles. Let's take a look. There's Murphy right there. He's just going to wash him through, and as he washes him through, he gets his hand up in the face mask, pops his helmet off, stays with the block, and gives him an additional punch to the back of the head.
Oh, Rob Murphy, he's no stranger from the tough stuff. He still holds an Ohio high school
Major
hockey
foul,
record for penalties.
Unnecessary roughness, BC number 56. It's a 15-yard penalty applied from the end of the play. It's 3rd down.
He used to be a hockey player, and as I mentioned, he holds a penalty record in Ohio in high school hockey. He's tough and was boasting this week that he pitched a shutout against Saskatchewan the last time they played, so he was looking forward to taking him on this week.
You don't usually hear an offensive lineman throwing the challenge like that, you know, especially having to play Fred Perry and Juridiak, who are pretty good in their own right. But I think it was more of a case of getting himself ready for the game, and he's answered the bell today.
So 3rd and 18 after the call. And McCallum just draining precious time off the clock before he punts it away. A nice deep spiral to the far sideline. Dorsey at the 43, flag down, and he scoots along the far sideline. But it looked like a BC player was inside that 5-yard restraining zone. A 46-yard punt, just a 9-yard return. Yes, Nelly Furtado at the half next week of the Grey Cup in Winnipeg. There's actress Pam Anderson, the Grand Master of the Grey Cup Parade here in Vancouver. 1 year ago, it was a situation like this where her career was discovered. She was discovered at BC Place years ago and went on to Baywatch fame in Hollywood. Another flag on the
procedure. Saskatchewan number 60. 5-yard penalty. Repeat, 1st down.
Once again, another penalty by that offensive line, and Kenton Keith is getting into it with the BC defenders as well. Jim Mikowski, the most outstanding offensive lineman from 04 and 05. It's frustrating out there at that tackle position to try and hear that snap count.
1st and 15, Saskatchewan. And the silent count. Joseph standing tall in the pocket, delivers to Andy Fantuz, his first catch of this football game. He crashes across the 45-yard line, and we'll have a gain of 10.
Well, interesting, because I think that Andy Fantuz, I call him the Claremont clone. He reminds me so much of Jason Claremont. When he gets open and catches that ball.
Had those big touchdowns, 2 of them in that big win in Regina, recovering the fumble in the end zone for a touchdown, and then the catch in overtime to beat BC. Blitz again. Joseph nearly intercepted as Dante Marsh stepped in front of Dominguez.
Now Dante Marsh read this all the way. They're bringing the blitz. They anticipated that Kerry Joseph was going to try and do a quick throw to the outside to Dominguez. There's the blitz with Phillips and Corey Banks. Throws that ball. As Dominguez is sitting there, Mark, waiting for the football, Marsh is actually moving back toward the ball.
Danny Barrett said he was going to give Kerry Joseph the third quarter to try to get something going. 3 minutes and 21 seconds left in the third and 5. And the Saskatchewan Roughriders, desperate here, will have to go for it. Joseph against a four-man rush has time across the middle. It's complete to Yo Murphy. And Murphy crosses the 40-yard line for a first down, Saskatchewan.
That is a nice job in the toughest of situations. As you say, gambling on third down, the noise is a factor. They run every other receiver deep, and Yo Murphy just kind of comes down and finds the hole. Ball is delivered to him, and he picks up the first down. Nice job.
Like Fantuz, that's Yo Murphy's first catch, and it comes with 2.5 minutes to go in the third quarter. Bunch formation, Saskatchewan. 1st and 10 on the 38. Joseph has time now. Dumps it to Kenton Keith. He's open. Hits a crease, and he's gone. Kenton Keith. Touchdown, Saskatchewan. 38 yards in a lightning strike.
Mark, one of the reasons you try and get Kenton Keith involved in your offense is because he has the capabilities of plays like this. They go with the bunch formation and just slide. Kenton Keith out. Nobody picks him up. Javi Glatt, the middle linebacker, sees him, but too late. And after that ball is in his hands, he's not going to catch him in a foot race.
Well, no sooner do we talk about Kenton Keith having disappeared from this football game, he reappears with a spectacular touchdown. A 38-yard pass and run to the end zone.
No.
And his first big impact on this championship football game.
Well, he's here. He's just going to slide out. Watch as he comes across. Javi Glatt 6. There's Javi Glatt. He's got to pick him up. That's the middle linebacker's responsibility. He just sits there. By the time he recognizes it, as they say, it's too late. The speedster Kenton Keith giving some life to the Saskatchewan offense.
One of the first times we've seen Joseph actually have some time to think and to make his reads.
Well, it's just a nice job of dumping the ball off, getting a mismatch. That is definitely a mismatch. And they can put Kenton Keith against the middle linebacker, Javi Glatt, and they executed on that play.
So Brent Johnson and his defense riddled by the spectacular Kenton Keith.
Mark, I just hope that the Saskatchewan kickoff team does not go for that short kickoff pooch kick that gives BC instant field position.
We wonder, after they conceded the safety in the first half, then pooch kicked and gave field position right back to BC. We wondered about that call. Here's Ian Smart from his 20 at full speed ahead, and he's chipped up. A 57-yard kickoff and a 20-yard return. Wednesday, don't miss Dragon's Den, CBC's #1 new show. Hopeful entrepreneurs pitch to wealthy investors. Will their ideas come to life, or will their dreams be shattered? Dragon's Den, Wednesday at 8 on CBC. Well, still lots of time left in this football game. 2 minutes on the clock here in the third quarter. But can this Saskatchewan defense solve BC?
This is the drive to start it, Mark.
Dickinson handing off to Geroy Simon on the reverse. Saskatchewan's got it covered. David Bush forces a fumble, and the Saskatchewan Roughriders recover. Jackie Mitchell on the forced fumble by David Bush. And a big turnover, and you can feel momentum here beginning to swell on that Saskatchewan bench.
It's amazing when you score a touchdown offensively after you basically be non-existent for the entire game, and all of a sudden the defense picks it up. Fred Perry trying to grab the ankles, but as you say, David Bush causes a fumble. Jackie Mitchell right there with the recovery, and great field position for the Saskatchewan offense to start with.
Can the Riders capitalize on the fumble recovery by this man, Jackie Mitchell? Crowd trying to drown out Joseph. They hand off. It's a reverse. No, a fake reverse. Kenton Keith tries to get outside. And he's taken out of bounds by Carl Kidd at the 27-yard line.
I like this play for a couple of reasons, but one of them is definitely when you attack the outside of this BC defense. This defense has had its way from tackle to tackle inside the box, putting pressure on Kerry Joseph. So what's the best way to stop it is you start attacking the outside of it and make that defense spread out a little bit. Then when you want to come back and hit it up the middle, you got openings.
It's a 6-yard gain on the sweep by Kenton Keith. And for the first time in this football game, Carl Kidd and this BC defense is being given a challenge.
Well, it's definitely a wake-up call for the BC team. They've had it way too easy up to that point.
The Riders finally getting Kenton Keith involved in this football game. Some passes to Van Toos and Yo Murphy. And holding on to the football with the drive.
Well, in the first half with Saskatchewan's offense only getting 3 first downs. And coincidentally, that's a number of touches that Kenton Keith had on the ball. I mean, you're not going to get a whole lot of production, but you got to give credit to that BC defense because they basically swarmed Kerry Joseph in that first half.
This BC defense leading the CFL in sacks with 59 and interceptions with 36, and the stingiest in yards allowed. 2nd and 4. 6 receivers downfield for Joseph across the middle. It's complete. Dominguez has the football, and another Saskatchewan first down inside the red zone of the Lions.
And if you want to beat the BC Lions, then formation will help you. They go 6 receivers. If you go 6 receivers, you force them to go man coverage. They try and sit back in there. That's Mark Washington. Dominguez just comes back inside, runs, little hook inside, and nice job of getting the ball to him, and as you say, in the red zone for the Saskatchewan offense.
A 19-yard pickup by Dominguez. 1st and goal. Here they go. Throwing deep for Dominguez. He's tripped in the end zone. There's a flag on the play. Dante Marsh bumping with Dominguez on that corner route.
Well, they just get their feet tangled as Kerry Joseph tries to run the corner route to Matt Dominguez. Nice touch, puts a little rainbow arc on it, as you say. Dante Marsh trips
Pass
up.
interference. BC unintentional as the player was in the trail position. Half the distance to the goal line. Automatic first down.
I like the call. It was unintentional. It's when they get their feet locked like that. Nice call by the official. But it puts that ball down on the 4-yard line, Mark.
1st and goal, Saskatchewan. As Kerry Joseph has come back to life here in the 2nd half. After a discouraging first half where he had just 4 completions. Riders threatening to try to get back into this game. The crowd trying to make it difficult. 1st and goal from the 4. The pitch is to Kenton Keith, and he's got the angle to the end zone. Touchdown. And a late flag.
28.
Keith was taunting perhaps, and then Otis Floyd gave him a shot as the bad blood continues between these teams.
Well, you can't talk to the official, but you gotta like the way they used and moved that ball. Kerry Joseph using some receivers he hasn't used. Yo Murphy, Andy Van Toos, Kenton Keith becoming a part of this offense again. Fake reverse and a little quick pitch the opposite way.
Objectionable conduct, taunting. Saskatchewan number 28. After the touchdown, will apply the 10 yards on the kickoff.
You know, I've seen a lot worse in this league than spiking the football, and that's twice now in the last couple of weeks we've seen penalties for that.
Well, the fact is you're spiking the football in your opponent's face, and that's why they're going to call it every time. If Otis Floyd wasn't there, they probably wouldn't have thrown the flag. The fact that he was there where he directed the ball, that's why they're going to call that play.
Danny Barrett trying to bring some composure to his running back. His team is getting back.
Canadian football. CFL.
Back-to-back unanswered touchdowns late in the third quarter have given Rider fans some reason to be optimistic here as they trail by 14 to start the fourth quarter.
Well, the third quarter was the quarter that Danny Barrett said he's going to leave Kerry Joseph in and see if he can create any offense. And as you say, now 2 touchdowns later, they're 2 touchdowns from tying this game.
Well, this team from Saskatchewan was down 28 points. And now they've cut that margin in half. Here's Ian Smart off the 40 to midfield. And a nice looking return. Reggie Hunt made the tackle. Smart celebrating a 28-yard return as we check the third quarter stats.
Well, it's interesting because when you looked at the half, Saskatchewan had the ball for about 9 minutes. They really owned the ball in the third quarter. That's the result. They got 14.7 off that Simon fumble, that turnover that was recovered by Jackie Mitchell. 10 first downs at 21 for BC, but more importantly, I think a little momentum has started to creep back to the Saskatchewan sideline.
Great field position for Dave Dickinson and the BC offense. First down across midfield. Dickinson, 4 receivers wide side. Hand off to Joe Smith. He cuts back to the short side and a big first down gain.
Mark, they tell your defensive ends to make sure you stay in the pass rush route all the time. Don't cheat down. Jeriniak is going to cheat down to the backside, and when he comes down too far, that allows Joe Smith to bounce it to the outside. You see 79 there late in your picture. If he stays up, he forces Smith back inside. They got a chance.
A 19-yard run cutting back to the short side by Joe Smith. First down at the 36. Dickinson, short drop, throwing to the near sideline, and Leroy Simon has the catch and steps out of bounds for a first down.
Well, Saskatchewan's going to bring a blitz late. There's Tristan Clovis. Now that's just safety. 0 covers, nobody in the middle. But on that play, they didn't even attack the middle. They just said Simon to the outside, who was getting a nice cushion from Omar Morgan.
Gain of 9. Second and 1 for BC. And in comes Jarius Jackson on short yardage at quarterback for the Lions. Jackson off tackle. And he'll have the first down for the Lions.
And again, a smart play. This is Jarius Jackson talking on the sideline with his offensive coordinator, Jacques Chapdelaine, saying, when I'm running the sneak, I'm getting stuffed in the middle. So I'm getting hit initially, and then I'm bouncing off to the outside. This time, he just pulls it and goes to the outside. That's smart. That's called making adapting to the game as it happens.
And you saw Buck Pierce right there with Chapdelaine as these quarterbacks all support each other in BC. Harmony among those marquee players. First and 10 at the 25. 4 receivers to the wide side, and it's a handoff to Joe Smith. He's hit hard, but pushes his way through the tackle of Reggie Hunt for 7 yards.
Joe Smith's a horse right now, and he's wearing out the defenders of the Saskatchewan defense. He is lowering the shoulder, and this time he just runs and drags Reggie Hunt for some yards. Great change of direction by the Louisiana Tech grad. Look at the drive still. After contact's made, he still picks up 3 additional yards, and that's great first down production with 8 yards on that play.
Joe Smith with 13 carries for 84 yards. The man from NFL Europe last year, the Ryan Fire, who set a record in that league with 6 consecutive 100-yard games rushing. Passing now, Dickinson to the near side is complete to Simon. He's open underneath the coverage, and a first down. His 4th catch of the football game.
You know what? Leroy Simon has all the speed to be your deep threat, but they're going to run everybody else out. You see Kendrick Jones, 85. He clears it out, and then Simon just cuts it off to the sideline. Nice job of just running a little bit of a rub pattern. Successful play, and they move the chains again.
First down, the ball on the Roughrider 10-yard line. Motion now as Paris Jackson goes to the wide side. 4 receivers that side. Dickinson dropping back, looking across the middle. Intended for Simon and incomplete. Eddie Davis there stripping the football, and Geroy Simon with a complaint to the officials. No call.
Excellent coverage, Mark, by Eddie Davis. I know Geroy Simon doesn't like that. He's usually a lot more open when he makes these touchdown catches, but good coverage. It's just going to break it across. He's already signaling for it. He thinks he's got it, but watch that left hand. I don't believe he gets to the ball, but it just causes enough of a distraction that Simon can't corral it.
Simon looked so routine there as he put his finger up, said, I'll have it. Thank you.
Yeah, that's right. Order one up for me right now.
Eddie Davis, though, who had that big game last week, makes a big play. Second down. Dickinson looking to the short side, throwing to the end zone, jump ball, incomplete, too high and out of the hands of Jason Claremont.
Well, and Dickinson wants this ball back, Mark, because as you say, Claremont is between coverage. Now, Clovis and Mitch are going to congratulate each other, but I'm telling you what, if this ball is a little lower, they're going to be shaking their heads. This is where it needs to be. He's between the coverage. The ball is just thrown too high where Claremont can't catch it. But it's a great read by Dickinson. Ball just a little high.
Paul McCallum now to attempt this field goal from the 18-yard line. This is the exact same spot he missed from 2 years ago in overtime in the West Championship. McCallum with the kick, and no question on that one. No pressure either as McCallum splits the uprights. You're watching the Scotiabank West Championship on CBC. 35-18 BC. Saskatchewan needs 3 scores now if they come from behind in this fourth quarter. 11-17 to go on the clock. Lots of time. Saskatchewan will take the ball at their 35 after the McCallum field goal. Hand off the draw, up the gut, and Kenton Keefe finds it tough sledding. Right now, let's go to the sidelines, and here's Brenda.
Well, Marquez, as you guys have mentioned earlier, despite leading his team to the West Final, there's speculation that this could be the end of the line for Danny Barrett in Regina. Many of his players said they were drawing inspiration from this, and running back Kenton Keefe says Danny's been like a father figure to the entire team, thinks it's unfair what he's going through. He said yesterday they would play their hearts out today, but are realistic enough to know that even if they go to the Grey Cup, it might not be enough to save his job.
Flag on the play, and the noise has given Kerry Joseph difficulty in getting the ball off.
For both. Time count violation. Saskatchewan, number 4. 5-yard penalty. Repeat, second down.
You know, Brenda, getting back to what Brenda said, Matt Dominguez was commenting this week about Danny Barrett, saying that through all the controversy, he's maintained a positive demeanor. He says Danny has been able to say, just go out and play. Don't worry about me. Don't worry about what's going to happen with me. And the players have responded. Can they come back? Here's Joseph scrambling under pressure, in trouble, and they've got him. Baron Miles, the safety, with the sack. The 4th of the game for the Lions.
Well, they do just a great job. This is defensive coordinator Dave Ritchie's game right now. And they bring Baron Miles. Now, here's Baron Miles. Now, watch as he comes up. He sees the pressure. He sees Kerry Joseph getting to the outside. Comes up and makes a sack. The nice thing about that is when Baron Miles comes up and watches Kerry Joseph, Mark Washington is assuming his role at the safety position. You see Fantus trying to get away from Brian Phillips.
Well, that's why Kerry Joseph was in trouble. There was nobody open. Kanji, another short end-over-end punt to midfield. And Smart will bring it back to the 50. And once again, the field tips in BC's favor as they have a big lead. CBC.ca/CFL and cast your vote for Warrior of the Game. You'll decide who showed true character in this football game. Warrior of the Game brought to you by the all-new 2007 GMC Sierra. And right now, Dave Dickinson has a lock, I would think, of command performance here this afternoon. He has not started and completed the game since July 29th when he beat Toronto. Handing off, and Joe Smith eats up real estate and time. And Fred Perry makes the tackle at the 45-yard line.
That offensive line is just firing off the ball right now. And they're having fun with the lead they have in this football game. It's a lot of fun to run the ball. There's Nate Davis. And Claremont just acting like a bit of a speed bump there.
You wouldn't want Big Nate to fall on your head, though. Second down, 5 to go. Dickinson against the blitz, gets the ball away quickly to Claremont. He's hit by Eddie Davis. That big receiver reaching for the first down sticks.
Mark, I've really been impressed with Jason Claremont today. As you said, only one career touchdown against Saskatchewan. That was the last time these two teams met. But he has been the go-to guy. Paris Jackson's got the touchdowns, but he has made the tough catches. And look at the effort to try and reach and pick up that first down, and that's what he does.
He's made some big catches over the years. In the West Final 2 years ago, that big 36-yard catch that set up the game-tying field goal, the forced overtime against this team, Saskatchewan. He's got 8 catches for 89 yards this afternoon. Hand off, Joe Smith trips and is tripped up after a gain of about 3 on the play. Catch all new episodes of The Hour next week with guests including comedian Billy Connolly and rock superstars the Foo Fighters. The Hour with George Stroumboulopoulos, weeknights at 11 on CBC. This Saskatchewan defense needs a stand here, but after those 2 touchdowns, Dave Dickinson has taken the ball back, running off the clock and eroding any chances of a Saskatchewan comeback. Here comes the blitz. Dickinson dumping it across the middle. Kendrick Jones, big catch. Oh, and a nice shoestring tackle by James Johnson at the 35 to stall that BC drive.
They'll just slide him across, and as we say before, just when you think it's going to be Claremont or Simon, he just comes across to the other speedster, Kendrick Jones. Goes up high, climbs the ladder, makes a nice catch. Comes up a little short. Once again, Paul McCallum will come on the field to try a field goal.
3rd and 3, and McCallum will attempt this one from just outside the 41-yard line. His longest this year, 47. He's good on about half of his attempts this year outside the 40. McCallum, good spot, hits it hard. It's got the legs. Good from 41. Paul McCallum's 5th field goal against his old team from Saskatchewan.
The handoff is too good on that similar play. He finds the hole over left tackle. Goes to 5, 10, and 15. Again, back to Keith Space, heading back to the 40 for a pass over to the side. That is good to Harry Hood. He's on the 20, the 25, the 30, the 35, the 40. And Kovic is going down for a touchdown. He's over.
The BC Lions just under 7 minutes away from returning to the Grey Cup for the 2nd time in 3 years. Kerry Joseph dumps it into the flats. Kenton Keith breaks a couple of tackles. Hard to bring down. There's no quit in Kenton Keith.
What great effort by Kenton Keith as he takes that little swing pass and, as you say, refuses to be brought down. Otis Floyd with a swipe at him. He made about 6 BC defenders miss him. Ended up picking about 8 yards up. But watch this. Watch the athletic ability of going outside, inside of Glatt, through Dante Marsh, hopping over the next one. And Brent Johnson all the way from the defensive end spot finally comes over to bring him down.
He got away from 4 BC defenders before there were just too many black and orange defenders to take him down. Gain of 7, 2nd and 3. Hand off to Keith up the gut. He bounces to daylight outside, and Otis Floyd wraps him up at the line of scrimmage. Aaron Hunt in there as well. One of 2 brother combinations in this football game. Aaron Hunt and Reggie Hunt. And of course the Clovis brothers, Sebastian and Tristan, on either sides of the line today.
Well, let's take a look at Brent Johnson. He's playing this soft. And he allows Otis Floyd to scrape to the outside. Come around the outside. and make that play as Kitten Keith had to try and bounce it outside again.
Well, it's 3rd down, Saskatchewan, 3 yards to go. And again, they will go for it. They converted a 3rd and 5 en route to their touchdown in the 3rd quarter.
Will they
this
try
is
and come
desperation.
back? Will they try and come back with Joe Murphy again?
Dominic Dorsey now in on 3rd and 3. Joseph in the shotgun. Loses the football. It's recovered by Gene Mikowski. And now it's on the turf again. Pitched out. But the whistle went. It was Chris Wilson, the defensive end, who came in to swat the ball away.
Well, just when you need your offensive line to be at its strongest on a 3rd down gamble, there's a frustration shown by Kerry Joseph. Just going to come around. It's a little swat from the outside. Now ball knocked out of the hands of Kerry Joseph by Chris Wilson, 99.
Mikowski trying to replay that scrambly end of game play against Edmonton by putting the ball down again, hoping maybe they get some pitch outs going, a little rugby. But the play was whistled dead. BC takes over at the 35. Play action. Dickinson rolling, throws it to Claremont, who settles underneath. He's wide open. And Maurice Jones makes the tackle at the 25. Jim Fleiser and the Riders beginning to realize the jig is up. Dejection setting in on that Saskatchewan sideline with less than 5 minutes to play and a 20-point lead by BC.
In a situation again where Dave Dickinson and that BC offense rolling on all cylinders. Little misdirection of Joe Smith, and he rolls to the outside and finds a wide open Claremont, and they put himself in a 2nd and short situation.
2nd and 1 yard. Buck Pearson now on the short yardage play, double tight formation. And he'll hand off to Joe Smith. And Joe Smith plows his way to a BC 1st down.
Mark, you know, we've talked a lot about this offensive line of the BC Lions. I think he's got to start giving them some credit. They have done a masterful job of protecting Dave Dickinson. That was a storyline. If they kept him standing up at the end of the game and healthy, they'd have a great shot at winning this football game. And I think those 5 individuals, Reed, Bates, and Mazzulli inside, and Murphy and Jimenez on the outside of the tackle position, have done a brilliant job of doing that.
Yes, the big offensive line more physical this year with those 2 import tackles. And here comes the blitz. The handoff is to Joe Smith. A great call against the blitz. He's hard to bring down. And he runs roughshod right through the Rider defense.
Well, Mark, with 3:31 and ticking left to go, BC is just making a statement right now. And they're making a statement not only to Saskatchewan, but to the Montreal Alouettes, who will play them in the Grey Cup game, that look out, we're coming and we're firing.
A 16-yard run by Joe Smith.
Well, you take a look at Rob Murphy. That's a legal block, and it's frustrating for the defensive end, Scott Schultz, because he doesn't expect that, but gets the job done.
And it's only the 2nd time this year that the BC Lions have had a running back over 100 yards. The give is to Smith again. He's caught. Eddie Davis in on the tackle from the secondary. Just prolonging the agony here at BC Place. The 3-minute warning has been given to the benches.
Welcome back to BC Place Stadium, where the BC Lions have a commanding 38-18 lead over the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Right now I am joined by the general manager of the Roughriders, Eric Tillman, and obviously your team in tough here. And I guess the question has to be asked, is a Western final appearance enough for Danny Barrett to keep his job in Regina?
Well, Brenda, you know, Danny and I are going to sit down and talk, obviously, in the next few days. You know, he is a first-class person. He's a good football coach. He's an even better father and human being. We agreed last week that we'd, you know, if we weren't successful, we'd give it 72 hours and sit down and talk. A lot of things for him to think about, us as well, and, you know, we'll see where it goes.
Joe Smith off tackle, touchdown, BC. BC. Smith's second touchdown of the game to ice it for the Lions.
Mark, this is just making a point, and boy, they're making it good. Let's take a look at Rob Murphy again as he just swats Maurice Lloyd, who's on the outside like a bad fly at a picnic. I mean, he gets rid of him and it opens up a huge hole. Joe Smith, who's been running with authority all game, finishes it off with a touchdown. His second of the afternoon.
Joe Smith, the second Lion to rush for more than 100 yards this season. And the rookie makes a statement in this championship game and gets some well-deserved congratulations as he returns to the BC bench. Paul McCallum, who has 5 field goals on the day to tie the BC playoff record set by Louis Pasaglia in the year 2000 with the point after convert. It's good. And it's a rout in BC. Let's go back to the sidelines, and once again, here's Brenda with Eric.
Well, Eric, close to a dozen of your players will be free agents at the end of the season. How much do you expect this team to change from now until the beginning of the next season?
One thing, I can certainly get an appreciation for the crowd noise and the fans here at BC. They've been amazing. I can hardly hear you, but you know, we've actually made substantial progress in that area. We're going to talk about the end of the season. I think we'll have the vast nucleus back. You know, our fans are fabulous. It's a great place to play, you know, and I think we'll have a lot of announcements after this. We were hoping it would be after the Grey Cup, but, you know, give full credit to Wall and his staff. It's a first-class team, first-class organization, and they in Montreal both have earned the right to play in the big game.
Thanks for this, Eric.
My pleasure.
Now let's go up to Mark.
Thanks, Brenda. You know, Eric Tillman has struck a cordial tone since arriving in Regina after the August midseason firing of Roy Shivers. It's been a tough environment, all kinds of speculation about the future of Danny Barrett. Eric telling us that they'll sit down in a few days after this game and it's clear from everybody's minds and talk about Barrett's future. There is some question, though, as to whether Danny Barrett wants to remain in Saskatchewan, even if he is offered a contract.
Well, there's some underlying stories or underlying current that he wasn't happy with the way some situations were handled during the middle of the year, and that he wants to go out on his own. So he's not even going to let them pull the trigger. He's going to probably go out on his own and ride the horse out himself.
But as Eric said, Danny Barrett is a family man. He has 5 children. His oldest boy is going into his final year of high school in Regina, and it's a good situation for him. He doesn't want to disrupt his family, but this is a tough business indeed. We have a chance here with 2:22 on the clock to update your Rona game notes.
Well, we talked about the line to the Grey Cup. Now it's the offensive line. We had to give protection to Kerry Joseph. 4 quarterback sacks on Joseph. Keith only 18 yards rushing. They didn't get it done up front, and that's one of the reasons that they're not going any further. In maximum punishment, the Lions 424 yards offense against a good, stingy defense of the Saskatchewan Roughriders. They just exploited them today.
Joseph in the pocket. It's complete to Yo Murphy, and wow, he pays a price as Dante Marsh celebrates a huge shot that has Murphy slow to get up.
Well, this is what you do when you hang your receiver out to dry and you throw it out to the sideline like that. And the defender, Marsh, sees this all the way, and he's up. He comes up to be able to make a big play on that.
Well, that sends a huge message to the Montreal Alouettes, who may be looking in this afternoon after defeating the Toronto Argonauts in the East Championship. It's a complete wire-to-wire performance this afternoon by BC. Right back to Yo Murphy, right back at Dante Marsh. And they exchanged some pleasantries after that play.
Well, the play previous when Marsh took his legs out from under him, this time they get Yo Murphy the ball. He's not even trying to outrun or run away from Marsh. He is lowering the head and wants to run over Dante Marsh, make a statement of his own. Just going to be a quick pitch out to the right. When Murphy gets it, he just lowers his head. He wants to hurt Dante Marsh in that play.
Well, it's a settling of accounts, perhaps, with the game of foregone conclusion now. Joseph in the pocket. He has time. It's complete again to Andy Fantuz. Van Toos won't go down without a struggle. And he's finally wrestled down by that big defensive tackle, Tyrone Williams, with help from Mark Washington. But what a great year Andy Van Toos has had, starting on the scout team, learning to run routes against professional defensive backs as a scout offense player, and having a great finish.
Well, I think he's definitely a player you can build a team around, and that's one of the things when they give him the ball, you've got a core, a nucleus of players that you know are going to be the future of your ball club, and as you say, Van Toos is one of them.
Joseph in the shotgun. It's complete to Dominguez. Again against Dante Marsh. He fights for 5 more yards against a BC defense that has gone into a prevent here, giving up the short stuff. Again, your own game notes.
Well, for BC, we talked about Dr. Dave ready to operate. We're talking about Dave Dickinson. 2 touchdown passes in the first half. He took off and ran with it 48 yards and a couple of drives in the first half. Just a masterful job of distributing the football to almost every receiver. On defense, Baron Wasteland, talking about Baron Miles and how tough it is to throw against that secondary. Riders only 236 net yards.
Joseph scrambling, and he throws it away under pressure. Everybody was covered on that play.
Kerry Joseph waiting to get the call in as we take a look at Dave Dickinson. Obviously.
What's up, Medicine Hat? Good to see you guys, Tampa's folks. And see if we can do it. It'll be a good one next week.
First time in 3.5 months that Dave Dickinson has gone start to finish at quarterback for BC in an injury-plagued season, and what a command performance. Joseph under pressure, he'll run, taking a couple of shots, and Not McKay Lozier will bring him down with help from Baron Miles. Dave Dickinson overcoming that high ankle sprain and then the concussion, which was most worrisome for him and his family. And now he's going back to the Grey Cup for the second time in 3 years after that bitter disappointment 2 years ago in Ottawa, losing to the Toronto Argonauts. 3rd and 3 gamble now for Saskatchewan. Joseph is intercepted. Ryan Phillips steps in front of that pass, and it's insult to injury.
Well, Kerry Joseph trying to find Anthony Fantouz again. Andy, who sat down in the middle of his zone coverage before. This time he breaks it out and tries to get it to the sideline. Kerry Joseph sees him, and as he tries to lead him, Ryan Phillips sees that, anticipates the play, and comes up with a big interception. Basically puts the final nail in the coffin with 42 seconds left.
Ryan Phillips, the second-year man out of Eastern Washington, and a discouraged Kerry Joseph. No question about his heart, but today this crowd and this BC defense was just too much.
Well, the BC defense, Mark, and I agree, the crowd really played an important factor. You talk about the advantage of having a home game in a dome. That's amazing. Of course, as we take a look at that man, Danny Barrett, what does the future hold for him?
Well, he's been such a positive leader amid the controversy in Saskatchewan. Danny Barrett has. He was upset that the contract wasn't offered to him, a new contract to start this season. Roy Shivers said at that point that Barrett had made up his mind he wasn't coming back. There was talk that the board wanted him fired at midseason when Shivers took the fall. But Danny Barrett, the family man and the big leader this year, suffering this defeat. This was the scene Monday night at Mosaic Stadium as young Josh Barrett, a halfback, a defensive halfback for the Riffle Royals, in a championship game went down to defeat. For the first time in 30 games, the Riffle Royals were defeated by Mark Mueller and his provincial champions in Regina. And Dad was there to encourage them all the way.
And it's nice to see that, because that's the grassroots of football, and that's the future of the CFL, those youngsters.
With Dave Ritchie, and the celebration is on. The defensive coordinator, who is the architect of this smothering BC defense. He's going to the cup. 2 years after quadruple heart bypass surgery. 2 years after being fired as head coach in Winnipeg, he's going back to Winnipeg with a chance to win the cup. The final play of the Scotiabank West Championship, and a souvenir into the stands from a jubilant Dave Dickinson, Wally Buono, and his friend Danny Barrett. And this day belongs to Dave Dickinson. From start to finish, a command performance with a quarterback most accurate of all quarterbacks this year, but plagued by injuries. He's taking the Lions back to the cup for the second time in 3 years. To the sidelines amid the celebration, and here's Brenda.
Well, Dave Dickinson was saying yesterday, Mark, that all the accolades that this team has received this season doesn't mean a thing.
I'll talk after. Old coach. It doesn't, the accolades individually don't mean anything, but we had to get to the Grey Cup first. We had an outstanding crowd today. They spurred us on. We know we got some tough work next week, but we're glad to be there.
What do you think the key was to dominating this team so completely, especially in that first half?
It was aggressive, and it was our O-line. It was our O-line. I mean, I got a lot of time. They handled a great front, Saskatchewan. I mean, really, it came down to our big boys, and they clutched up.
I know it's a difficult time now, but can you look ahead to Montreal and that matchup and how you guys match up against them?
Well, we want to enjoy it, but, you know, Montreal knows we match up well against them. Saskatchewan matches up good against us, and we took it to them, so we know we got to do it. They've been there a lot. We're excited to get back there. Hopefully we win it.
Congratulations.
All right, thank you.
Now let's go upstairs to Mark.
BC Lions versus the Montreal Alouettes for the first time since they met in 2000 when BC beat Montreal in Calgary. They are the undisputed best team in the CFL right now, and would you say prohibitive favorites going into the Grey Cup?
Well, I think you got to be favorites just the way they played today, the way they dominated today, and I think Dave Dickinson hit it on the head. They've got a great offensive line. They're nasty, they're aggressive, and they controlled a great Saskatchewan defensive front, and that's why they won the game.
A dominant performance offensively, defensively, and on special teams. BC wins in a rout today, 45-18 over Saskatchewan.
Moments from now, the BC Lions will receive the West Division Championship Trophy. That's not the one they want. They'll play for it next week. Meanwhile, warrior of the game, the man that Brenda Irving just talked to, and Dave Dickinson, a very deserving candidate. 274 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, also 45 yards rushing, many of them in the first half, and that was so impressive considering he came in with injury questions. And, you know, people talk about how Dickinson is. He's always one hit away. He was great.
Warrior of the game, brought to you by the all-new 2007 GMC Sierra.
Yep. And credit to the promotions people at the Vancouver province. They've already got tomorrow's paper out. Onto the cup, and on the backside, bring the rings back home, boys. Dave Dickinson, Sean.
Well, Dave Dickinson, you know, there's been questions swirling around him all year long about his health, about his ability to win the big game. But today, Dave got one word that was really needed: validation. He came out, played a definitive game from start to finish. And hey, if I'm the Montreal Alouettes, I'm saying look out.
And Greg, you know, you made the great point, I thought, at halftime. Saskatchewan outsmarted themselves, particularly with Kenton Keith.
Well, Kenton Keith only touched the ball 3 times in the first half, and that is a big mistake, because if you're thinking about the Saskatchewan Roughriders and how they got better in the second half of the season, it was really about Kenton Keith and that offensive line firing off. In the second half, finally they got to him, and guess what? 2 touchdowns, got it close. 32-18 was the closest it's got, but you know what? They should have gone to him earlier.
And this is the reason you want first place right here. This crowd was amazing today. The Saskatchewan Roughriders were not only playing against the BC Lions defense today, they were playing against the crowd noise, and they lost big time. They had 4 time count violations. Things were just off the whole day, and you could just see it. This crowd had a big effect on the game.
One-word answer. You heard Eric Tillman on Danny Barrett. They will meet in 3 or 4 days to discuss the future. Should Danny Barrett be back, Sean?
Yes.
Greg?
Well, they got to evaluate.
More than one word. Kahari?
If he wants to be. I know more than one word.
All right. Well, look, I think that's the key thing. Does Danny Barrett want to be back? I think that's a great point. We'll take a look back at the East Final when we come back. It was a great day for Wally Buono. The Lions' plans were perfect.